Hey, we're here for a live show, a late night show with big hair, high hair. Hey, that's kind of like the wavy toilet paper you have almost.
You think so?
Yeah, you got wavy hair now. Just on top though. Is this the haircut you gave yourself? Is that still the case?
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at
okay.
that.
Sure, buddy. You were trying to go for be Hugh Jackman's body double for the next Wolverine movie?
It's like a cross between Brian Setzer and an idiot.
But originally you were trying to be Hugh Jackman's body double for the next or stunt double for the next Wolverine movie, right?
I can do that, actually. I flat down this, and then this ends up
I
curling.
know. Well, maybe you weren't going to be his body double because you're going to be his hair double.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. Okay. Well, Viking Moe is going to join us here when he gets a chance. Who the heck is on here? Lee's here already. What the hell, Lee? Happy Christmas and Merry New Year to you as well, Lee. And everybody. How's it going with the baby? Are you up right now with baby or
baby's first Christmas?
Baby's first Christmas. That's cute.
It's tougher though when they're like 2 months old. I think he's only 2 months old, right? Somewhere in there.
Yeah, you don't have to get him anything. They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know any better. Don't get him anything.
You get them stuff the whole time anyway. So
I'll say this: the smaller they are, the bigger their gifts are, and
right,
the less expensive.
Right.
The older they get, the smaller the gifts are, and the more expensive. Trust me on that one.
Oh man! Congratulations, Lee! First Christmas with new kiddo. That's good. All right. Was that Lee's first? I forget if he told us if that was his first kid or not his first kid. I can't remember. If you told us, I apologize, Lee. If you didn't tell us, then I don't apologize. Rick is here. Woo ho 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 to you as well, Rick. We say we're great. We saved this Christmas. Thanks, man. All right. Well, before Viking Moe gets here, because we can't talk about this Packers' last dominating game. We'll get it out of the way here real quick.
Yeah, talk about it right away.
What do we think about it? Big domination game of a bad team with a bad quarterback playing, but what do? You can't choose. You can't pick who you play against.
I'll say
NFL team.
Once again, Jordan Love, a little sketchy on the passing, but no sacks again.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy just doesn't get sacked. 11 sacks all year. And yeah, he missed 2.5 games, but still, that's 11 sacks in more than 11 games. I mean, that's less than one sack a game is pretty damn good for a starting quarterback when you got guys getting sacked all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still, like I said last week, it's still a good skill to have.
Hell yeah.
You're not putting your team in bad, especially when you're a running team and you're not putting your team in bad long distances. That run game still becomes a viable option no matter what, because you're not losing yards with sacks. So that's something. If they can keep doing that, and then a couple turnovers on defense, you got some Zane Anderson doing some crazy stuff, picking off balls, and he looked pretty decent out there. Now they're playing the crappy Saints. I get it. All their guys are hurt. I mean, they had like no star power on the offense at all. But the first shutout of the year of any team in the whole NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't know when the last time the Packers had a shutout was, but I know this much. In 2010, the Packers shut out the Jets, and they went on to win the Super Bowl that year. Not saying it's going to happen. And they got in as the 6th seed, which it looks like the Packers might be the 6th seed. Back then, there was only 6 seeds. Now there's 7. Yeah. But still, got in as the 6th seed, rolled all the way to the Super Bowl. This team doesn't quite have the firepower that team had on offense or the stud power on defense, like star power on defense. But
to that in a second.
it is, it's something that's pretty special. They look pretty halfway decent on defense and on offense. So, teams, but whatever.
I want to go back to that Jordan Love sack thing or non-sack thing. Wasn't Spencer Rattler? Wasn't he sacked like 7 times in this game?
A lot. I mean, Devontae Wyatt had 2 sacks, and
he's pretty mobile. And then you had other games where the Packers team had like 7 or 8 sacks in a single game. Okay, they sacked the opposing quarterback like that many times in a single game. So it is. You're right. I mean, it's a huge benefit to staying on schedule, to not having, not getting behind, not getting away from what you want to do on offense, which is really important to the Packers. So I think it's underwritten, undervalued, but hugely important. So that is something he does maybe best in the league. Maybe. It's not as exciting as like Lamar Jackson avoiding a sack or some of these guys where they run
that's
around
crazy.
and all that stuff. But it's still effective. He's still avoiding the sack. And then sometimes he makes good throws when he's avoiding the sack.
And sometimes he don't. I mean, Malik Willis had one throw. Malik Willis had one throw, and it was a perfect deep ball by Malik Willis on his one pass, where Jordan Love had a bunch of deep passes that were not anywhere near the guy. So a little concerning.
I bet the Titans are watch that throw, and they're like, damn.
Well, they watched him beat him already earlier in the year.
Should we have gotten rid of him and turned it over to Will Levis so fast? Maybe not. It matters. It goes to show you, though. It matters, right? Like, you can't always know what people are going to be right away, especially when he was thrown in there as a rookie or whatever. He looked terrible, but he wasn't prepared. He wasn't ready for that opportunity. So you can't give up on some of these guys so quick. But at the same time, guys that get opportunities and repeatedly get opportunities and they're not showing up or showing what they should be after a year or two, you got to wonder. And so the Packers I think they lucked out with Malik Willis here. And they aren't as lucky with other guys, but they hang on to him. So whatever, but they're all there. Lucas Van Ness did a few more things this game. He was showing up a little bit more, so that's good. He's a little more active. Devontae Wyatt is a maniac, which is good. Like him. Inside guys look pretty good. Linebackers did all right. No Quay, but that's okay. We did just fine. Right? Looks like no Quay again coming up, and no Jair, of course.
Oh, we'll
talk about that when Mo gets here.
Oh, shoot.
All right, Lee says, yes, first baby. He's teething already. Almost doubled his weight. Jeez Louise, man. 9 pounds up to 16.5 pounds.
Dang.
Wow. All right. 9-pound baby coming out of there. Yowza.
Olivia was 9 pounds.
Was she really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then she got up to 11 pounds, and then she stayed at 11 pounds for like 5 months, and that was no fun. And then she had heart surgery. But now she's 18 years old, almost 19, and, in college, so everything's good.
Yeah. Well, Lee, they get heavier and harder to hold the heavier they get. So give your arm a rest. Call in a sub when you need one, stuff like that. It's important. Dad's here. Good evening, boys. Hey, Dad. How you doing? Dad's got through Christmas okay. I think he got a couple of good gifts from what I've heard. Got himself a gift or two. And then he was in pretty good spirits. He told me the other day that he likes his apartment. He likes being at his apartment. So he likes it now. Likes the apartment.
Really?
Yeah, he likes it. What? Uncle Jason and Ben, Charlotte. What? Is that what Charlotte said? Hi to us? Nice. How you doing, Charlotte? We're here. Why is it? Damn, Charlotte's watching us too. Look at this. Anyway, what is Mo gonna ever show up? Who knows? We'll find out.
I don't think so. I think he just sent a message. He's a
can't
loser.
Get it to work. Still trying. Yeah, Viking Moe. What is this? Minnesota internet connections again? Mic issues. Oh, his mic issues. Jeez, come on. You got hacked? Who got hacked? You? Raider Rick? Damn. All right.
Whoa.
But seriously, with the Packer game, we'll finish on that. Ran the ball a bunch again. And Ben, you should be happy about that. That's all you ever wanted was the Packers to run the ball more. And they're doing it this year.
Yeah, when they had Aaron Jones. I still don't know why Emmanuel Wilson and, Chris Brooks don't get carries until the end of the game. Like but
it's weird because then you look at the end of the game and Josh Jacobs didn't even have 20 carries.
That's because they took him out.
It's just like they feed him a whole bunch right away. They said he's got the most first half touches of any running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right. And they feed him a whole bunch right away, and then they just don't. Then he ends the game, and he still didn't get 20 carries most of the time. It's weird.
It is weird.
But it works, I guess. Oh, a kid stole his phone. All right. Rick got his phone stolen. Well, good for him. You're watching us on your phone? That's a good way to watch us. Then we look smaller and not as fat, I think.
I don't know. I'm pretty fat now.
Yeah, me too. I'm almost 2 bills right now.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's
fatty.
That's the heaviest I've ever been in my whole life. Almost 2 bills. And it's not good. It's not good weight either. It's you know how some people have good weight. It's not me.
I don't know what that is. I think I'm almost 220 now.
Holy crap. Now we should go be linebackers or something. Running back.
I'm still slow though, so it wouldn't do us any good.
All right, be a running back. Hey, you know, just to point this out, Rick had got like a Eddie Lacy autograph thing a couple of years ago, right? For like $25. I saw that Eddie Lacy recently was out signing things again for Packer fans. He's back in the area signing some stuff, trying to make some coin. Eddie Lacy on there.
Does anybody want that?
Maybe somebody. I don't. Said one guy posted a picture. He got a thing with him. He's like, Eddie's looking great. So now that he's out of football, he got in shape, I guess.
Wow, that's terrible. You know my opinions on Eddie Lacy. I'm never really a big fan of that
guy. He was the weirdest guy ever because he was so big and huge, and then for whatever reason couldn't ever convert a 3rd and 1, hardly ever. That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it's AJ Dillon does the same thing.
This just be so easy. He's huge. Give him the ball, get 1 yard, and then he could hardly ever get it. And that was back in the day they didn't go for it on 4th down all the time, Ben. You remember those days? Anybody else remember those days when you didn't go for it on every 4th down? Jeez.
I remember a year ago when the last, I don't know how many years before this year, where the Packers would stop them on 3rd down. They stopped them. It was 3rd and 9, and they give up 8 yards, and then they get all excited and cheer, and the team would just go for it on 4th down anyways, and then get it every damn time. But
Lee's wondering if you had any exciting times at Christmas.
No, not like Thanksgiving. No. Well, I guess we're waiting for Moe. If everybody wants to hear that freaking fun story, I don't know if I can do it. I was saving it for Jason to tell the whole family when I go for Christmas in January 20th.
It's up to you. I mean, it made the news, didn't it, or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Rochester is slow news day, and so naked guy tackles some guy.
No.
Oh, and naked guy gets tackled?
Naked guy gets tackled.
By a guy in a Packer shirt?
Something like that. But I don't know. We'll talk about Pack.
I got something vibrating above me. I've got dogs barking. I got a kid going up and down the stairs talking to his friend, and they're getting all excited and loud all around. So it's insane. It's crazy.
This is a weird show. Hey, I got a question for you.
You were the one who wanted to start. I was like, let's wait for Moe. But
yeah, well, we would be waiting yet for Moe. He's not coming.
What's your question?
He's probably not coming.
What's your question?
I was watching these guys. I had a show, and they were asking Andy Herman. I was on, and they were asking him, rank these 3 Vikings in terms of scariness. And Andy Herman got it right, but he was way too diplomatic about it. But it was Randy Moss, Adrian Peterson, and Justin Jefferson, and he ranked them in that order of scariness. But he was like, "Oh, but Adrian Peterson was, he was pretty scary, and Justin Jefferson is just like, you don't really ever get scared, But then you look up at the end of the game and you're like, oh man, that was scary." But Randy Moss, you're scared every time he was on the field. Yeah, Randy Moss, you're afraid of Randy Moss all the time. He was way better than Justin Jefferson, and he is way better than Justin Jefferson, and he'll always be way better than Justin Jefferson. I've said it for years. Justin Jefferson was the 4th option on his college team. Don't get me started. Randy Moss is by far more scary than Justin Jefferson even thought about being.
And he was the number 1 option on his college team.
He was the only option.
The herd, Marshall.
Because he had freaking Chad Pennington throwing in the ball, I think.
Yeah, noodly arm.
You just throw it to him every play.
Must have been crazy to watch those games. I didn't watch.
But anyways,
back in the day,
I was just like, "What's up with that? Don't be diplomatic about this crap." Randy Moss is the guy that scared the crap out of you. He could be triple covered and still catch it and then break every tackle and score a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, if you beat him up at the line of scrimmage, you take him out of the play.
But he does scare Jair to not play again this week. Truth bomb.
That's not nice.
It's true. Although I keep hearing all of these shows like, oh, the Packers, well, they're not going to have Jair. And he's one of the only guys that had success against Justin Jefferson.
Because he shut him down 1-on-1. Not. We don't want to get into all that, but
we got to wait for Bo to get into all that stuff.
I don't think Bo's coming.
He's got to come.
I don't think so.
All right, let me ask you this question then.
And I got no videos today.
There's a whole bunch of Viking stuff I have to talk about, but I want Mo to be on to bring it up. Did you see now Aaron Jones? God damn, I wish he was a little more confident in what he's trying to say, but he's not. So it didn't come out all that smooth and all that great. But they were asking him some questions in his presser, and he said that they asked him something about how much fun it was playing this season and blah, 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 and with this team and the way it is and all that. And he said that this is the most fun he's ever had playing football.
That's because he didn't have to play with Aaron Rodgers.
I know.
And last year he was hurt most of the year. Or half the year. So, yeah, this is probably the most fun he's ever had. No Aaron Rodgers, and you're not injured very much. He's having a great year. Yeah, that's all you have to say.
Have you watched the other thing that's striking to me? I keep watching Kevin O'Connell's like post game stuff.
Yeah,
locker room stuff. Yeah. It's just a different vibe, man, than like Matt LaFleur doing it. I mean, I know
Matt LaFleur, he's not charismatic, man. He's just not.
No, and the guys are like, yeah, okay. I mean, Matt LaFleur, all right. Get to the end, or give us a shout out, give a teammate a shout out. We'll get excited for him. But like, Matt LaFleur is always like, oh guys, this is the thing and whatever. And we're we got to just keep doing focusing in on this and that. And the guys are just kind of like, yeah. All right. But Kevin O'Connell, I don't know. There is a trust, there's a relationship, there's respect for sure, but also just like, I think genuine love and appreciation. And that bond, like it feels to me like the Vikings have this really good team chemistry going. And with that team chemistry, I don't know, that can do a lot for you. That can help you stick together. That was the one thing, right? That we saw teams that didn't stick together in Green Bay, and they struggled, and they had up and down seasons. And mostly they didn't stick together because they're all the finger pointing from their number one guy who was in the media all the time. But the Vikings are showing that they have a lot of good character guys, good players who are also good character guys leading the way. And the team bond, team chemistry is good, and that can do a lot for you in winning games or losing games. So I don't know. Who's to say it? Who's to say it's not going to happen, that the Vikings are going to win this week and win next week and be the number one seed in the NFC? Who's to say it's not going to happen? I think it could happen. Me. You're saying it ain't happening? All right. What does he say? What do Vikes do with Darnold? Rick is asking. Try to re-sign him. If not too much money, set up their own Roger Love situation. Rick, hold on, Mel. Hold on. The Vikings are literally playing this out to see how this season finishes. They are not thinking about making any sort of decision on Darnold until the season is done. But you would think, well, I forget who it was I was listening to, and they were kind of talking through the Sam Darnold situation, right? Guy who has been bounced around, played on a crappy team with the Jets, played under crappy coaches and bad environment. Then he played, for Carolina. It was a bad situation. But everybody that they talked to, the teammates, everybody else really liked the guy. Okay. And then he went and I think Chris Sims also, when I was listening to him, talked about this. He's like, he's had couple of the best offensive coaches the last 2 years that probably really helped him understand football a lot better than when he first started and came in with the Jets and the coaches he was under there. So does he want to go to Would he rather, like, if you were him, would you rather stay in Minnesota, maybe take a little less money, stay in Minnesota, have an opportunity to be the starter, but knowing that it's probably not long term, unless you just completely ball out, and then they just got to do away with their draft pick? Would you rather do that, or would you rather start over again? Maybe not have as good of coaches, maybe not be in as good of a team and situation and all of that, and take a little more money and probably a starting position right now, but also knowing that team's probably going to be drafting a quarterback soon if they don't do it this year, and also looking to replace you in a couple of years. So what would you rather do? Are you going to wait? I guess the other thing is, if you win the Super Bowl, or if you get to the Super Bowl with the Vikings or whatever, does that accomplishment also be like, I did some pretty good stuff here. I think I'm going to go try and see if I can do it somewhere else or whatever, especially if you win the Super Bowl. Like, would that be more likely he stayed or more likely he go or left? I don't know. I'm trying to talk through these scenarios and I don't quite understand what I would do with Sam Darnold, but I do know the Vikings aren't making a decision with him until after the season's over for sure. Like, they're not even thinking about it because they're trying to just hope he keeps playing like a magician here. Viking Moe, finally. Ben, what's going on?
Here's my thing. I think people are talking about it only from the Vikings' point of view. They're not talking about it as Sam Darnold and what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And if I was Sam Darnold, I would just keep on knocking out, doing the best I can with the coaching staff that they have. They've given him success with all the weapons and everything's going around him. And then at the end of the year, become a free agent and mark the price up. Like, why even bother trying to settle for a deal now or even right after the playoffs? Just wait, get the free agency. Because here's the thing. Maybe San Francisco, who had him in last year, they have to make a decision on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's year wasn't the greatest this year. Maybe they see, they know what Sam Darnold looked like last year when he was on the team with them. Maybe he gets an option and a little bit more money from them than the Vikings would be able to give up. Plus the Vikings, they did waste a high draft pick. And it's a lot different to waste a high draft pick on a guy or let your Mr. Irrelevant that you picked in the draft 4 years ago walk, which is what the 49ers would be doing for a guy who's proven to be pretty good this year. And if I was Sam Darnold, I would be like, hey, I appreciate what you guys do for me, Vikes, but we all know you drafted a guy. You got freaking Daniel Jones on the practice squad right now. You could probably sign him back for a piece of gum next year. And the Vikings have a good backup there at that point with this young, second-year guy coming in J.J. McCarthy. So I would just, if I was Darnold, I would, listen, this could be a fluke. This could be luckier than dog crap. And you don't know when it could happen again. And we watched it with guys like Joe Flacco, won a Super Bowl, freaking Ravens gave him all the cash, and then he sucked. And I just don't think the Vikings are going to be willing to do that.
Matt Castle,
and they're all those guys. But it's not like I think Darnold has a market, and I think the 49ers are a huge one because they know him and he's been there. I don't think the other team, some people are, there might be a couple teams here and there, but I don't know if he'd go to them. But I think he'd go to the 49ers, and I think he'd stay with the Vikings, and that's the way it goes. And what does a Viking fan think? What does Moe think? You got a guy who's playing great, who's getting a bunch of touchdowns for you guys, and he's not even under contract next year. He's in the MVP conversation.
I think he should be MVP.
I don't. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about the issues. I don't think. Honestly, he should probably be in the MVP conversation. I don't think he really compares to Lamar Jackson in terms of production, or even if we look at Saquon Barkley,
Barkley's only got 13 touchdowns, man.
He's on pace to have a better year than Adrian Peterson the year he won the MVP as a running back. He was the last non-quarterback to do it.
We all know Adrian Peterson didn't deserve it.
Okay, well, that's another topic another day. I mean, there's no question that Sam Darnold has obviously exceeded all expectations, including mine. I was literally upset when they originally plucked him in free agency over some other choices, but
we were not. We were very excited about it, and it's backfired.
Right. Well, the thing is I hear what you're saying, Ben. Like, I'd like a little larger sample size. You just can see guys, but he's had a pretty full season of playing, and you kind of see it. And I would I tell my brother, I'm like, he's good for like 3 bonehead plays a game, and whether he pays for it or not. And those have just kind of dwindled. There's less of them now. Like he's just evolved. He had that regression in the middle of the season where he's forcing it to Jefferson too much and started throwing picks again. Everyone's like, oh, the old Sam Darnold is back. But then now he's adjusted, and now he's not doing that anymore. And he had a game where both Hawkinson and Addison went over 100 yards in the game. So he's really just he's aggressive, but he's making it work. And a lot of people want to talk about, what are you going to do with him next season? Are you going to keep him or not? And I'm kind of in the camp of like, let's just finish the season first. I mean, we have not only have they exceeded expectations, they've won 13 games. They have a chance to win up to 15 games, and that just doesn't happen very often. Let's just see what happens this season. Let's see how far he takes us in the playoffs. Let's just see, right? And we can deal with offseason in the offseason time, but you don't have to do it now. That's how I feel about it. The franchise tag is in play too. I wouldn't, they could always tag him and trade him. They could tag him and say, here, one more year, we want McCarthy to be back and maybe learn one more year, since he kind of had a red shirt rookie year here with his injury, which is minor, meniscus, but maybe something along those lines. But it's a good problem to have, I suppose. But I know he has said, because I know you asked, well, what does Sam Darnold want to do?
Yeah.
But a lot of his interviews after games is like, I'm just so happy to be a Viking right now. There's no other place I'd rather be. He'd say words like that, which tells you, obviously, he likes the situation, and it might just be, the right thing to say in those moments. But he said it a lot of times and repeated it a lot, where it feels like if it works out for him to be here, he'd like to be here, is my inkling.
Well, I can tell you this, as a Packer fan, last year, Aaron Jones said he wanted to be back.
Yeah.
And he was under contract. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain guy named Bruin Gutenkunst who repeatedly said he was going to be back. And then he outright freaking signed Josh Jacobs and cut Aaron Jones the same freaking day, like a punk ass piece of crap. So it don't matter what these guys say, Mo. It's all what happens and what they do. And I'm telling you now, even Rick is saying, oh, maybe the Raiders will come in and steal Sam Darnold because they got quarterback problems. Because unfortunately, our guy, Gardner Minshew, not so hot, got hurt. And Aiden O'Connell, he gets hurt. If somebody touches him, he gets hurt. And their offensive line is not good.
He's got a terrible mustache.
But we got to ask you a question, Mo. This is a question.
Yeah.
You did not hear. Did you hear the earlier show we had?
I didn't. I was working on my audio issues. I'm sorry.
All right. Here's my question for you. How many sacks has Jordan Love, or how many times has Jordan Love been sacked this year? Period.
Not many. I think it's less than 20, I think. Is that right? Is it around 15?
11.
11?
11 sacks in 12 and a half games. Or 11 and a half games. So that's less than one sack a game.
Yeah.
And the reason why is twofold. Number one, we are running a lot more than we ever have. But also, he's doing a good job of avoiding, like when a guy gets in his face, he kind of like does this fall back and chuck it. Now, sometimes it's not complete, but he's never putting us
picked off too.
Sometimes, but he's never putting us in a spot that's bad. Like we're not, and what it's doing is it's allowing the Packers to keep running the ball. Like we're not going from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 15. Mm-hmm. We're going from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 10, and then we run the ball and get 3 yards, and then it's we have a lot more plays where we're still pretty crappy at third down conversions, to be quite honest, but we get a lot of big plays on 1st and 2nd down. But I will say this: Jordan Love's accuracy pretty crappy lately, but only he hasn't gotten sacked in, I think, the last 3 games. He's only got sacked once, maybe. Mm-hmm. The last 3 games. It's nuts.
Well, if you ask someone like Troy Aikman, he would say that sacks are a quarterback stat.
I think they are a lot. Yeah.
Well, it has a lot to do with it, right? I mean, if you're holding the ball too long, like you guys know what that's like, right? You're going to get sacked more because, if you get the ball out quick, it's hard to get a sack, right? So in that regard, it is, right? And I think there's also times where you can roll out, throw it away, avoid a sack and a negative play. There are always times, though, that taking the sack is the right play, where the defense just wins. You can't get outside the pocket. You don't want to throw an interception. You take the sack. And I think that's one thing that Jordan Love, in all instances, refuses to do. He refuses to take a sack. And you can even reference the last Viking-Packer game.
Hey, we don't need to talk about that.
Well, Harrison Smith came unblocked. He didn't have any time, and he didn't take the sack. He just chucked up it looked like a punt pass, like a Kyler Murray punt pass, where he just throws it up, except it was at the end of the game and it was picked off. So I think that's the only thing I would say. But yes, I think he's doing a good job getting rid of the ball, avoiding sacks, buying time, extending plays, and they are running the ball really well. So, and he also didn't play 2 games, so that's 2 less games you can get sacked. But still, 11 is a ridiculously low number. Yeah. Especially compared to, say, Caleb Williams, who might break the record for most sacked in the season. So
what, as a Viking fan, what do you think your chances are of beating the Pack and the Lions in the last 2 games and taking the NFC North?
It's not easy. The Packers are playing really well. Obviously, that Saints game, the Saints, that's a tough one because the Saints,
sucked. They had nobody.
They had just no heart in it either, and it was a tough game to watch. But there
was
I
liked it.
Well, there was something else to do. I mean, I was fine. I was watching with my father-in-law, who's a Packer fan, so I was being supportive and everything because it didn't really matter to me at all. But it was just kind of like, well, this is a really boring game. They're just not even trying. But I think you look at how they beat the Seahawks. They beat them quite, impressively, I'd say, much more than the Vikings beat them. And they got to the quarterback a lot. So they're doing a lot of things well, and they kind of just can run the ball whenever they want. And I think that reminds me a little bit of Detroit, who can just run the ball whenever they want. And that's such a weapon to have. So to answer your question, I think I like that the Vikings are at home, but I think the Packers are playing really well. I know the Vikings have like the second ranked run defense, but that's mostly because teams just try to pass on them a lot. I think the Vikings do have not one, but two players that have the most sacks in the NFC in Grenard and your guy from the Badgers, Van Ginkel. Both have 11 sacks in the season. So,
well, the Packers have the highest paid guy with the least amount of sacks. That's Kenny Clark.
What? How about Rashawn Gary?
Rashawn Gary's been good.
Rashawn Gary's got 6 sacks. Kenny Clark has 1.
Rashawn Gary's been good.
Kenny Clark has 1 sack for every $250 million he's being paid this year. Or no, I'm sorry, $25 million he's being paid this year.
Well,
1 sack for every $25 million.
This is the Kenny Clark game, as we know. So,
David's back. We have to say David's back. David's
back. David, what's up? Good to hear you, see you, and have you.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mo, but
no, it's okay. Hold on. Don Owen says we don't need Darnold. We need whoever KOC is confident in. Whoa!
Oh, we got another Viking fan.
That's the other part. That's the other part. Is it just Kevin O'Connell makes all these quarterbacks good? So if you're Sam Darnold, why would you want to leave him? Don't leave him.
Right. Well, I think if you're Sam Darnold's agent, you say leave him and get as much money as you can right now, in case that is all it is, right? But I think it's a valid point because they were saying before the season, before J.J. McCarthy got hurt, that he was pushing Darnold for that starter position, and it was neck and neck until the meniscus tear. So I think they might still be pretty high on him, I'm assuming. But then you look at, if you will even go back to like Nick Mullins, right? Who's put up 300 and 400-yard passing games under this offense with Kevin O'Connell too. So if a guy like that can perform, I mean, obviously he threw a lot of picks because he's just crazy, but he can put up some big numbers, right? So is it the system? but does it really fit? I think it does, because I think Kevin O'Connell's super aggressive. He likes, this is maybe sometimes problematic, but he likes long developing routes, attack downfield, attack. Whereas, Kirk Cousins was here, he would do that sometimes, but he would check down a lot. And now it's like the opposite problem. Like, I'm yelling at Sam Darnold, like, just check it down sometimes. The guy's wide open 8 yards downfield, just give him the ball, but he's still pressing it to try to get this big completion. And so they almost have the same mentality in terms of how Darnold likes to play and how KOC likes to, Kevin O'Connell, KOC, likes to run his offense. So it's just kind of how it works sometimes. So it just might be just the right fit too. I mean, where it's kind of a perfect fit.
I got a question for you. Hold
Aaron
on.
Rodgers and Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, the perfect combination right there. KOC reminds me of KFC, which makes you think of chicken, which makes you think of chicken nuggets. It makes you think of Taco Bell has chicken nuggets. What do you guys think of this? Has the world gone crazy that now Taco Bell has chicken nuggets? I've not tried them. I'm just asking you if you think it's insane.
Taco Bell needs to stay in its lane. They need to stay in your lane.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm trying some in the next couple of days because I'm crazy, and I'm going to do it and see what they taste like. They're probably going to be scary bad, but I'm going to do it.
There's no way they can be good. There's just no way.
Dad, what do you think? Dad, leave a comment. Dad is a Taco Bell guy.
But you know what's happening, right? So currently, they had all those combo Taco Bell KFCs, right? They're in those same places, like near gas stations and whatever. So they're trying to merge them so they don't have to have two different brands and two different whatever. They can just make it a one.
That's smart.
Offer chicken and tacos.
That's true. They're owned by the same company, right? So maybe it's actually the nuggets, like they're partly smaller nuggets of the KFC nuggets. They're actually they cut them in half and then double bread them, and therefore
put a little Spanish salt on it. Nuggets. Mexican salt on it, and
I don't know if they do all that Mexican stuff. Anyways, sorry to change the subject, but I just thought that was news this week to me, and I was like, Taco Bell's got chicken nuggets. This is crazy.
That's big news.
That's big news. Just like the big news of, let's see, if you don't do anything, you tag him for your give him Jordan Love tree. Okay, yep. I mean, no need to rush it. If Sam balls out, okay. I think Sam Darnold should be still considered MVP because Viking Moe. What if the Vikings get the number one seed? Tell me Sam Darnold,
number one
32 touchdowns right now, only 11 picks, playing good down the stretch. Like the thing from Lamar Jackson, even though his numbers are crazy, is the team's lost like 4 or 5 games, right? They lost like 5 games.
They're at least have lost 5 games. Yeah,
you can't. I mean, they're going to be. So the way the league works is it's got to be. That MVP is going to come from a number 1, number 2 seed, kind of a playoff team, not a number 4, number 5 seed playoff team.
Well, it's more than just stats, and I get that. I think it's you're elevating other players, and you can make that argument for Sam Darnold in that way, I suppose, right? Given, I think when they started the season, Vegas, the over under for wins for the Vikes was 6.5, so which was crazy. So, but and in the same kind of line of thinking, you look at Joe Burrow, who's just putting up ridiculous numbers, but their team just keeps losing, and they probably won't make the playoffs. And then you can't give an MVP to a guy who doesn't make the playoffs, right? So it's kind of that is the team doing well? Also, it's kind of a weird award, but it's still kind of a QB award too, right? So and Josh Allen's in that conversation. So sure, you can put Darnold in the conversation. I'm just not super optimistic that he'd win. Now, if he does, lead the Vikings to a victory over the Packers, and then they go into Detroit and take the 1 seed from them, even though obviously Detroit's been decimated by injuries, mostly on the defensive side of the ball, that definitely strengthens the argument, right? Especially if he's the reason, right? Which he would probably need to be against Detroit because it's going to be a shootout, but we're also talking about
Aaron 30 points in 5 games in a row, which has not been done since 63 or some crazy ass freaking time, something like that. So don't get started about who's scoring points, Mo. The Pack has scored more points than almost anybody this year.
And also, since Ben interrupted you, Sam Darnold a Viking record 12 games with a quarterback rating above 100 this year. 12 out of the 15 games.
Is that better than Aaron Rodgers ever did?
Maybe.
I don't know. It's been great though. It's been, pretty fun to watch by and large.
Okay, well here I got a question.
Season.
As a Viking fan, Mo, and we want to know there's I've seen some Viking shows, and I've heard some guys, they have concerns because they say that there are times when the Vikings offense just goes out there and like lays an egg like for like 3 drives in a row, like they stink up the joint. My question is, what is the reason for that? Because you're a smart guy. I know you're watching the games. You probably figure it out. And as Packer fans, we want to know why or how we can take advantage of this. And so tell us why. Why do they stink up the joint for like 3 or 4 freaking drives in a row, but then they go and score a bunch of points, go crazy at the end?
Well, I think there's not a simple answer, but sometimes they give Aaron Jones a breather, which is always a mistake.
Why would you ever do that?
Right. Well, and Cam Akers is their back. He becomes him. Sometimes he pops off some decent runs. He's been okay, but it's just I think a different offense with Aaron Jones in there. So sometimes it's a combination. He's out. They get like some of these negative penalties. They get behind the sticks, or Sam Darnold takes a sack. Now Sam Darnold the line's been pretty good. He has good protection most of the time, but like I said, long developing routes from KOC's offense. Sam Darnold wants to be aggressive all the time, so he holds the ball looking for that long developing route to develop, and then he takes a sack or misses the guy when there's an open guy underneath. So it's those combos. So they get like a negative run or not a strong run on first down. They maybe have a pre-snap penalty, or get behind the sticks. They look for this long pass, or he gets sacked, and that's where it just kind of stumbles. It happened in the first meeting with the Vikings and Packers too, where the second half they just couldn't score. They drove, and then they threw an interception that wasn't really an interception to McKinney. But
that was the Xavier McKinney interception fund that they were doing at the beginning of the year. That dried up real quick after the first 5-6 weeks.
Right. But I just had to get that in there. But so
we agree with you.
It's just things like that, right, where it just starts to stumble and like, okay, they're and sometimes it does that in the first half, and they adjust in the second half. But there are just been times where it does sputter, and I think it's because they rely so much on the passing game, and for everything to work in that offense, you need protection, the long developing routes, all those things, and then for Sam to see it versus having what the Packers have right now is a steady running game. They're getting chunks of yards on first and second down. You get manageable third downs. You don't even get to third down because you're running the ball so well. And I think the Vikings can run the ball, but I'm trying to tell Kevin O'Connell through the TV or at the stadium, just keep running the ball, give the ball to Aaron Jones, give him a screen pass, like do something simple to get some rhythm going, and instead of just trying to get these chunks all the time.
It's fair, but in the process, you've gotten Addison's really looked good.
Yep.
Jefferson, Hawkinson's come back and had an impact. So, and even, I don't know. I didn't think Jordan Addison was going to be that impactful, but he's getting open downfield, catching a lot of balls, catching a lot of touchdowns.
He gets open. He just runs good routes, and he makes tough catches too. I was kind of, I was surprised too. He's not like, he's got good speed. He can stretch the field, but he's not, like crazy fast or anything, but it's something where he can just make those catches, and he has good wiggle in his routes. And so it's another, to kind of, and he gets a lot of one-on-ones, right? Because if they're doubling Jefferson a lot, they triple Jefferson sometimes. So it's like now you got single coverage on Hawkinson and Addison, and someone's got to be open.
We don't need your lies. Nobody triple teams.
They
Justin
do.
Jefferson.
I've seen that on
Not
film.
a single team on earth will triple team Justin Jefferson. There's no need for that.
Well, you're not going to get lots of zone this week from the Packers,
zones
because we don't have any corners that can cover anybody except Keyshawn Nixon, pretty much, and he's our best corner by far. But I have a prediction for this game. I'll save it for later, but I think there's a clear.
But Jair's playing, right?
No, not again.
He's not.
No, he can't play.
His knee. He had a setback. With his knee. Although He was a full participant in practice for like a whole week, and then they made a big deal about it, like he's back, and then they showed all the pictures, and he's like, "Ooh, I'm back," and then now he's not back. He's just annoying. He's back to make a lot of money and do nothing.
He makes a lot of money and does a whole lot of
the
nothing.
Packers might be the best at paying guys for doing nothing.
He did it for David Bakhtiari for 3 years, and now Jair for 2 years.
Christ.
Well, they've drafted well, though, obviously.
But have they?
They always get to show Gutekunst on the TV, and they say, 53 of the 55 players have been all drafted by the Packers or something.
Yeah, the other two are Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs.
This is a really interesting thing, though. I heard Kevin O'Connell talk about this week in his press conference. Is he talked about the 5 big free agents they brought in? Okay, Cashman and Van Ginkel and Aaron Jones and Darnold and who's the other guy? One other one.
The defensive lineman from the Texans. What's his name?
Oh yeah, right. Grenard.
Oh, Grenard. Yeah.
Grenard. Okay, so he talked about bringing all those guys in, and they had like a meeting, or they had like a dinner with them and their spouses or significant others, whatever. And he really liked the people that they were. Or he liked the players that they were before that. And then when they had that dinner, really got to know him better as people. He was like, wow, we have the right guys, the right kind of guys here. And so you took a team with very low expectations that people didn't think much of, and you had all of a sudden kind of the right group of performers who are they're veterans who are going to lead the way with their play on the field, but also be leaders in the way that they act and perform and go about their business and all that. And the Packers don't usually buy into that philosophy that you can make those moves to make your team bring your team to the next level. They try to do it by drafting and just keep drafting and shuffling and growing the players. But it seems like that's really worked for the Vikings, because how else do you explain how this season has turned out based on what everybody thought?
It's kind of the only reason, really, right? I think because they really haven't drafted well recently. The jury is still out in the last draft, but so far it's been a lot of misses, to be honest with you. The whole 2022 draft, there's no one left on the team that's starting. There's only, I think, 2 players left on the team, period. So but conversely, they have made good moves in free agency, that particularly on defense, that's helped them. So that's been the biggest difference. And obviously having Sam Darnold after Kirk Cousins leaving has been the biggest one that no one kind of expected on a 1-year, $10 million deal that I thought was too much at the time. So yeah, it's kind of been surprising, but the decisions they've made in free agency have, not only because of their performance, but I think because how they buy into the philosophy, and Brian Flores, and he's got a defense where it's like you can't be a me guy, because the pressure is coming from all different places. And if you do your job, eventually the quarterback will flush to you or flush to him. You'll get the sack, I'll get the sack. And now you got all these guys that get sacks, and not instead of one guy that gets 15, right? So, and they're all buying into that, and it all works because you have that team chemistry, and they have fun playing, they have fun practicing. So it seems like a special group that way. So I appreciate that approach. If they can fix the drafting now, that'd be great. But I think if I could, I have a question for Ben.
Yep.
Because Jacobs has had a great season this season, right? You could argue that was
he's pretty good.
Offensively, was their best free agent pickup, obviously, this year by far.
I don't think they did any other free agent pickups.
Well, they had the McKinney on defense. That's why I said offense.
Yeah.
But if you had your choice today,
Aaron Jones,
you take Aaron Jones back over Josh
every day, all day. And I'll tell you why. Because if Aaron Jones got the opportunities Josh Jacobs gotten this year, he'd be a 1,500-yard back. Easy.
Do you think he'd stay?
If he had that many carries?
Think
he'd stay healthy. Yeah, he'd stay healthy. I'm so sick of hearing this crap. Here's my question, though.
Hold on, before you move on from that.
I'm not moving on. I'm not moving on from Aaron Jones.
Okay,
I'm going back to the thing we was talking about.
Okay.
I want to know. You just mentioned Sam Darnold, 1-year contract. Aaron Jones, 1-year contract. What about Van Ginkel and all these other guys? Are they all 1-year contracts too, or are the defensive guys actually a little bit like 2 or 3 years like down the road here? Because I want to know how long we got to deal with these idiots.
Well, Grenard, I think, was a 4-year.
I could see him being a higher one.
Ginkgo was 2 or 3, and I think that's the same with Cashman. So,
okay,
so they're all under. None of those guys were 1-year deals. Some of the 1-year deals with some of the corners they got that are older.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the thing I'm going to say. The reason why the Vikings are so good, and it's not surprising to me, because a lot of times Packer fans, we're excited because we get to watch these guys get drafted. They end up showing flashes. After a year or two, they turn into pretty good players, almost all of them, right? Like, we do pretty decent in drafting. But really, there aren't very many superstar guys, okay? But we still hang on to all these guys. Even though, and that's fine. And then sometimes we pay the first and second round picks as if they are superstars when they're not superstars. What Kwesi has done is he's paid the superstars, the 1 or 2 you got, let the crap go, sign free agents who are good players who can play now and immediately help. And the Packers still draft a bunch of guys and keep it. Like, we had 13 draft picks or whatever this year. I can't remember. It was 1 million. And all these, and some of them don't even make the team, obviously. Like, we had a quarterback who drafted 7th round, didn't make the team. A couple, corner didn't make the team 7th round. But those guys don't develop or play right away sometimes. Now, they on offense, a wide receiver we had to because we had nobody. And at tackle we had to because Bakhtiari was hurt all the time. So we had, what's his face playing? I can't remember his name. Sheed Walker playing right away.
7th round pick.
He's playing great. He's playing great. Don't get me wrong. He's awesome. Left tackle, playing great. 7th round pick, left tackle. Nobody can find that. Packers do.
Mark Tauscher, right
it's
tackle.
really annoying, by the way.
But we do have holes in other spots. Now, we've been lucky this year. Edgerrin Cooper has proven that he is a playmaker.
So good.
He's not necessarily like knows what the hell's going on all the time, but man, he's everywhere making plays.
He is.
The two safeties we got in the 2nd and 3rd rounds are really good.
They could just
now
stay
they're both
healthy
hurt. Yeah, they've been
all.
getting hurt. Yeah. But the difference is the reason the Vikings were successful and no one's talking about them is because it's a bunch of really good guys that are out there. Anybody could have grabbed them, and they didn't. And the Vikings used that money they saved by not signing Kirk Chains back to get like 5 or 6 or 7 really good players on their team who have impact right now. Whereas Packer fans, we watch us draft pretty decent players, but they don't always impact right away. Our 1st round pick, Josh Morgan, was the 8th best left tackle in the draft. They're playing him at guard, and he can't even start. Our 1st round pick. Where the Vikings get guys like Addison and frickin' Jefferson and frickin', I don't know. I know Dallas Turner isn't starting, but he's turning around. He's making some plays lately.
Yep.
But you got guys making plays at the 1st round picks. We got guys, Lucas Van Ness. What does he do? Nothing.
Well,
come on.
He got a penalty
that's
on
the
special
difference.
teams.
Yeah, I know, but that's the difference. That's the difference. As I think that's why the Vikings have success. They grab guys who are good guys, as you just said, but also really good players who have impacted the team now. They filled starting spots with good players, even though they didn't have draft picks to do it. They used free agency to do it by saving money by not paying some ding-dong quarterback a crap ton of money. Now they're going to have to start paying some. They might have to do it. If they signed for them Darnold, maybe they don't have as much money to sign back Aaron Jones and all those guys. But that's all good stuff that those guys, and the reason why the Lions are so good is they drafted the best player at every position for the last 2-3 years. They're like, you can't take a running back at number 8 overall or whatever it was. They're like, Jamar Gibbs is really fast. I don't give a crap. We're taking him because he's really good. You can't take a linebacker in the 2nd round. You can't take a safety who ran a 4.6. He's too slow. Oh, yeah? He makes every goddamn play. We're going to draft him. And you can't draft a tight end in the high 2nd round who's actually shorter than most tight ends at 6'2". We don't care. He catches everything and makes a bunch of plays. And that's what they do. And the Packers take the 8th best tackle and the freaking 12th best cornerback and whatever. But they did take the best number 1 linebacker. They took the first linebacker, and Edgerrin Cooper has proven to be the man. But that's the big thing I would say. Why the Vikes are so good. Real smart. I usually don't like Kwesi and what he does. I think he's freaking ding-dong. Like, he trades with the Lions all the time and gives them better draft picks. Stop doing that. Stop giving better draft picks to the Lions. He does it all the time. But otherwise, I think that's your key. Really good, awesome guys that anybody could have had. But you save money by not signing Kirkle Chains to sign like five or six awesome dudes who are super impact to a team that nobody's talking about, even though they're freaking got 13 wins.
Well, and if you add on top of that, I think they have the second most in dead cap this year. And so the rest of Kirk Cousins' dead cap comes off next year. They're going to have like $70 million in cap space next year. Now, if they do anything with Darnold, that would, 30 to 40 of that could be gone right away. But, that's a whole lot of money that going into the next offseason. That's why I think it might be really tempted just to try to move forward with J.J. McCarthy if they think he can do it, because then you can use all that money to surround him with, I don't know, a stronger center or right guard, things like that they could just really and they really need probably a couple more cornerbacks now too. So and if they can figure out this free agency thing where they can hit on these free agents, if they're not hitting on the draft picks, then maybe, because they don't really have a lot of picks next year anyway. It could be kind of fun, but we'll see.
But you filled your corner spots with two veterans who are not idiots.
Right. They're okay.
Maybe they don't have the super skills like athletically anymore. But like Gilmore was a freaking defensive player of the year at one point. Like he's not some scrub off the street. Like even like Charles Woodson, when he was playing with the Raiders the second time at the end, when he was playing safety instead of corner, he still made plays all the goddamn time because he's a freaking awesome player.
Right. And they're smart.
And you got him on the cheap, Yeah. And who do we have? We got Corey Ballantyne and freaking Valentine and freaking Stokes out there. Like we got a bunch of ding dongs.
Stokes.
You do have two guys that have like rhyming last names, which is kind of cool, and they almost sound the same. You can't tell who you're talking about. You have to say their first name, otherwise you don't really know if it's Valentine or Ballantyne. I mean, that's kind of a cool thing, right?
Yeah, they're both C's
only
too.
if you're talking about like it's like a whatever they call it, like the lawyer.
What if
families? It's the law offices of Valentine and Ballantyne.
Yeah. Think about this.
Havish and Davis, but now it's Havish and Rotier.
That's right.
Is that for the Green Bay area? I don't remember.
Probably. It's Wisconsin. We got the Dwarven beer tonight, Mo.
Nice.
Dwarven beer.
I expect nothing less.
So think about this, Ben and Mo.
No.
If Keyshawn Nixon didn't have all those big returns the one season, the Packers probably wouldn't have signed him back,
no,
right?
They wouldn't have. Yeah.
So we wouldn't have our best corner. Like if we didn't have him out there making tackles and doing stuff from the corner spot, I think how sorry ass we'd be at corner and D back right now.
Well, that worries me is we don't have Rasul to cover, Hawkinson, take him out of the game like he always did.
How good would the Packers be right now if they had Rasul Douglas?
Don't even start.
Way better.
Don't even start, Mo. Okay, it's over and
it's
done.
Crazy. I get it.
I'm not buying jerseys anymore because every time I buy a jersey, a guy, he's gone. He should still be there this year.
Yep. But maybe he'll get to the Super Bowl with the Bills. Let's hope.
I hope he gets beat in the Super Bowl by the Pack. Yeah. Or the Vikings. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, the Vikings get the Super Bowl.
Isn't that weird?
They could have 1 year. They could have one Super Bowl.
It's hard to hate the Vikings this year. I don't hate them. I kind of
because they got Aaron Jones and Sam Darnold. They got a bunch of guys that everybody's like, who the heck are these guys?
Van Ginkel.
It's awesome.
Van Ginkel is so funny. He's awesome. He's so fun to watch.
You got your head coach is awesome. I like your head coach.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
You know what my favorite thing about living in Minnesota is right now?
It's hard to hate the Vikings.
I usually hate Minnesota and I hate living here. But I've had more people, like my mother-in-law, for instance, and people I work with, like old ladies that I work with at work, and they come up to me and they're like, Aaron Jones is such a sweet, nice man. He's my favorite Viking. I'm so glad they signed him. And I'm like, yeah. He is amazing and he is awesome. And all these people are telling me how great Aaron Jones is. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me. I know that. But it makes me proud that Minnesota people can see when the guy's awesome.
It doesn't take long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jesse's mom, every time I see her, she's got to tell me about how awesome Aaron. She's like, man, I am that Aaron Jones. He is something else. And she's like, did you hear what when he jumps in the stands and he calls it the big vault? He's so clever. And I was like, I doubt Aaron Jones came up with that. Somebody probably told him, but it is pretty clever. I'll give him that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Do you like that, Mo? The bank vault?
The bank vault. I thought,
I
a
like
long
it.
time ago, I was thinking like the Viking vault, but because the alliteration, but
Yeah.
the bank vault, I guess it's fine. But
But can it be the Viking Bank Vault? I can do that.
it
That's not
could
as good. The
bank
Bank
vault.
Viking Vault.
I don't know. It's fine. Jumping in the
Well,
stands is fun.
All I know
But
is this: the
everybody
Packers
does it
lost
now.
the first game to the Vikings because they were hell bent on not letting Aaron Jones score a touchdown. That's
Right?
all they were like.
They're
Everybody
focused
else,
way too much on
because
it.
they let everybody else score a touchdown in that game, and they're like, Aaron Jones, you are not scoring a touchdown. We're not letting you jump in the stands. Now that it's in Minnesota, hopefully they won't be as worried about that and just worried about trying to stop the Vikings for once instead of just trying to stop one particular guy, and maybe we'll
Mhm.
get a win.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now. I know I've been talking way too much.
Well, no, but something about Aaron Jones, like I was watching his press conference and you see the comments in there. Everybody's like, this guy's such a great leader. He's been so great. Hope they sign him back. I hope they give him another, all this sort of stuff. So Mo, that was the other thing that you couldn't have predicted was that the Packers were just going to be dumb and be like, here, Aaron Jones, wee, and the Vikings could sign him for $7 million.
Well, I remember we were on the group chat, right? Because it said, "Oh, Aaron Jones got cut," and I was like, "Oh, I hope he comes to the Vikes." And then it's just like I spoke it into fruition,
I said that too. I said I hope he
into
goes to the Vikes.
existence, and it was awesome, and he did, and it's been awesome.
Here's
It's
what
one
I
of the
think is
best
going to
parts
happen,
of the
man.
season.
He
I think
looks
what's going to
in
happen
great
is
shape too. He looks like he's in as good a shape as he's ever been.
It looks good.
I think next year the Packers or the Vikings are going to sign Aaron Jones back, but they're not going to sign Sam Darnold back. They're going to sign Aaron Rodgers.
No, Rodgers got to go to the Raiders.
I've heard rumors like that too, and
That would be so awesome because he's saying, if you see he's just talking so much smack about the Jets. There's no way they're going to keep him. They're just going to cut him and
Right.
cut the losses.
He's trying to
because
get
he's
his
been
way
talking
out.
so much smack.
Yeah,
And he's going to go to the Vikings. He'll sign for like $5 million. Just watch, just so he can be on the Vikings. Watch. And Kwesi, well, hopefully, I'm hoping for you, Mo, that they're not stupid enough to do it. Because I can only tell you this much: it's only going to end up in bad news.
well, I'm going to tell you this. Kevin O'Connell said, and also in that when he was talking about those players they signed, the free agents they signed, how great they've been, he said, it came down to this: guys that were good people about the team and love football. And so we need to keep finding guys like that with, in the draft, whatever we acquire players, we need to focus on those things. Good people, about the team and team aspect and love football. Aaron Rodgers is none of those things. So why the hell would they add him to their team? They won't. They won't.
It doesn't seem to be a fit with that philosophy. I would agree. So we'll see what happens, but
I agree.
I'm excited for the rest of this season, though.
I think
B's
KOC and Kwesi aren't going to be that stupid.
Yeah, B's here, and he says the Packers letting Jones go is still something that blows his mind. Finally broke the idea the Packers are people-oriented and protect their own. It's just a business now. Yeah. Always a business. Josh Jacobs doing well. I mean, you can't argue that. However, that's what I wanted to get back to because we were talking about that, how Ben said Aaron Jones would have you have an even bigger season than Jacobs has had because Jacobs has done well. But what's been different is a couple things, right? The Packers have focused on running the ball more and attempted more, especially early in games. And the blocking schemes are drastically different.
Yes.
The way they're running, like they're not doing so much zone now. They're doing a lot of double team blocks. They're doing a lot of pulls. They're doing a lot of different blocking schemes that they weren't using before. And that is creating bigger openings and also bigger cutback lanes for the running back. So Jones in those situations probably, just because he's more explosive than Jacobs, he probably would have more yards, and I think he would have had a really great season with the Packers if he was still in the Packers. But
I just want to say,
Jacobs is doing well.
Some guys talking in the chat, Drake Smith, who seems to be a Bears fan, and David and guys, and they're saying, Josh Jacobs is good, and he is good. I'm not saying he's bad. I like Josh Jacobs too. Mm-hmm. I'm a running back guy, and I think Josh Jacobs has been great, and I think he's a good dude. He's a good team guy. He's a good, awesome dude. It's just, me, and the part of it was this. The part that bothered me the most is, I think I talked about last week, is we would go like an entire drive or two with no Aaron Jones in the game, and we go like 3 and out. And like, what are we doing? just put him out there to even if you don't give him the ball, just having him out there makes the defense a little more concerned. And this year with Josh Jacobs, he's in there all the time. He comes out for like one play and then he's back in. Like the only time he comes out is at the end of the game when we got a big lead. Otherwise, he's in there all the time. Like, Emmanuel Wilson is barely getting freaking plays. The only time he comes out is if it's 3rd and long and they need running back to pass protect because Josh Jacobs' pass protection kind of stinky. You know who's awesome at pass protection? Aaron Jones. And I've heard it a couple times on Vikings games. There's a couple times where I'm like, holy crap, did you see that play where Aaron Jones came across the middle, picked up the blitz, Sam Darnold got his ass kicked, it wasn't for Aaron Jones? Yeah, no shit. And you know what else? Aaron Jones probably wasn't even supposed to be there doing that. He was probably supposed to be out in a route, but he saw the guy coming, and he went over and picked up the blitz. He did it in the playoffs last year against the Cowboys, and even freaking what's-his-face, Micah Parsons said it to Jordan Love. He's like, dude, I was sitting there ready to kick the crap out of you, and all of a sudden Aaron Jones is freaking elbowed me in the ribs. What the crap? He wasn't even supposed to be there. And Jordan Love was like, yep, he wasn't supposed to be there. He's supposed to be out in a route, but he saw you coming, and he's freaking smart. And that's the difference. That's why Aaron Jones is the man. Because he can help you on all phases of the game, and the Packers are just too dumb to play him all the time. And the Vikings are getting like that too. Though Cam Akers has been okay. He's not bad. He's actually pretty. There's times where he's in there and he looks like Josh Jacobs out there. He's run through tackles. Yeah, he's getting like 8-9 yards a carry and stuff. And Josh Jacobs is doing good. I'm not upset with Josh Jacobs. I'm upset with the fact that we always underutilized Aaron Jones when he was a Packer. And he's gone. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm sorry. Other people get mad at me because I'm still talking about it.
It's okay.
But it's cool. I'm excited for Aaron Jones because he's still the same guy. And he's being utilized properly with the Vikings. And he is getting rest every now and again. They don't play him all the time. But he's doing great. And his team is winning. And it's exciting for him. And it's exciting for me because I can be a fan of the Packers and I can be a fan of the Vikings. And that's cool. I think I just said pan of the Packers. What the hell's a pan of the Packers?
You know what? We don't know. But look at your guys. Rasul's doing well. His team's doing well. He's supposed to be back this week too, by the way. He was out for a couple weeks with the knee, but he's back already. But his team's doing well. He's playing well. Jones's team is doing well. He's playing well. So maybe it's not all bad, Ben. I know that we would have liked to see those guys have success on the Packers and win the Super Bowl with the Packers, but if they win it with another team, at least we can be happy for them.
The thing that's hard though is when you're a fan, right?
Yeah.
As Packer fans, when you grab onto a guy, it's really hard to develop a new guy because he's got to come in and be able to make a play. And because we draft so many guys, I already talked about this earlier. It takes a while for them to get on the field to make plays sometimes. So it's hard to grab onto a guy and really hang on to him. One more question for you real quick, Mo.
Mm-hmm.
You, and I think other people I know, especially Vikings people, especially Paul Allen, all he ever says all the time, that Jaden Reed is the number one threat in the Packers passing game at wide receiver. Do you agree with that, number one?
Yes.
Okay, well, here's the number two question that we realized on the show a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it's still the same now. It might have changed, but as of a couple weeks ago, Jaden Reed had more drops this season than Christian Watson has had his entire career. Can you believe that? Because people think of Christian Watson as the guy who drops balls all the time.
Well,
every time,
Wicks, but yeah.
Yeah, well, Wicks this year is bad. I'm going to get started about that. But like, because every time Christian Watson drops a ball, it's like a 40-yard bomb that would have been a touchdown. Like he does it like 3 times a year. But he's only had 8 drops his whole career as of a couple weeks ago, where Jaden Reed has had 9 drops just this season. So is he really that great? And he's dropping like freaking 5-yard freaking out routes and stuff. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, it surprises me. I wouldn't have guessed that. I think the whole wide receiver group for the Packers is curious to me because it's, you got Dobbs, who seems to be a prima donna, and Watson.
I don't know.
I think it's more a mentally health.
Okay.
He's a very like quiet, like
the dude is
third guy. Yeah.
And they talk about, and I'll just because this has come out too, how he's the last guy there. He's the first guy in the morning, like hitting the jugs machine before anybody else does. He's the last guy there doing all that. He was doing all that stuff, and there was just a weird situation where I think some stuff. It wasn't about. He even said it wasn't about his targets and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay.
It was something else happened, and
It certainly came out that way, unfortunately, then
it did.
because we were
And
all
he's
like,
not-
what is that all about? Right.
And he's not a big like communicative guy, or he's not going to like bare his soul and lay it all out there. So when he got the chance to address it, they asked him a couple of questions like that, and he said, no, it wasn't about that at all. It was something else. And I just, I made a mistake. Basically what he made a mistake in doing is not communicating with the organization about how he's feeling, and that he needed to step away for a couple of days. But the dude's Dobbs is freaking awesome, and he's a key piece because he catches almost everything. And Jordan Love, whenever he's like Ben says, Romeo Dobbs is like the break glass in case of emergency guy, because Jordan Love will just throw to him and he'll just catch it.
Well, maybe he shouldn't be the in case of emergency guy then, right? Maybe he should be a little more focused. But I would always say Jaden Reed, because I think there's all these guys have their things, right? Watson's like the speed guy, right? And he gets hurt a lot and whatever, and Dobbs is sure-handed guy. And Wicks is like this, he's pretty good at getting over. He's a big bodied guy, right? And then you had Reed, who's more, I don't know, I'm not going to say he's more like a running back type style, but he's really good with the ball in his hands, which is why he does punt returns and all those things, right? But when I see Reed make plays, I'm like, they need to get him the ball more. They should call his number more. And maybe it's because some guys struggle with, sporadic targets, right? They get more drops because they're not the focus. They don't know when they're getting the ball. Okay, you're calling my number. I haven't actually caught the ball in 2 quarters. You know what I mean? So, and some guys can handle that and some guys can't. And so how do you do that? Like an example, this is a little dated, but Jake Reed, if you remember for the Vikings, it was Reed and Carter. Reed and Carter both had 1,000-yard seasons, amazing, right? Super fun. Then they draft Randy Moss. And then all of a sudden, Jake Reed understandably gets less targets all of a sudden, right? And it was okay the first year, but then he just started struggling with drops like crazy. Never had a problem with that before, but he was only, getting 30 balls this season. So it's, some guys can do it and some guys can't. And I think maybe that's part of his issue, but I still think, he's the most dangerous with the ball in his hands of all the receivers that you have.
Well, he has, opinion. Like we've talked about it for him. I mean, he's good. He's one of the best run after the catch guys. Like Wicks is really good run after the catch. It's just the catch is been the issue this year. But like Wicks is like the shakiest, shiftiest. He can get open the easiest by the biggest margin and the quickest. And then he can put some moves on guys where Reed's a little tougher. He'll run through tackles. He'll go up and make tougher catches. So there's a lot of good things.
Even though he's a short guy,
right? It's weird. Like he's not a big guy, but he goes up and attacks the ball like we always wish Alan Lazard would when he with the 6'5" frame. And Jaden Reed's like 5'11" and he'll go up and just freaking attack the ball, which is awesome. And he's physical and he's tough. He's tough as hell, and he's got good vision. He knows how to run through. Kind of find the blocks and find the holes and weave through it. He's great on the jet sweeps and when they get on the ball in the backfield. So
he's a good way to give him the ball.
Yeah, it is. Because he's very versatile. He's the guy if you're going to run a wide receiver screen. Yes, he's one of the guys you would actually throw the ball to.
Jaden Reed he should get it every time.
But the problem is no, and Watson no.
But they run it with Dobbs. Yeah, they run it with Watson, and Watson is great once he gets ahead of steam.
Yeah,
but his getting there takes a while, and he's not shifty, so it's dumb.
Right.
But the biggest problem is all these guys, like somebody's talking about, Wicks had problems with drops in college. Romeo Dobbs at the draft, he locked himself in his hotel room and didn't come out for the combine, not the draft, the combine. And so he's had some mental. He just kind of like shuts off. Like if something gets weird, social anxiety or something like that. He just kind of like freaks out and stuff. And he like, whatever. I don't know if it's some kind of, if he needs to be on medication or what, but that's his issue, right? He's got some kind of thing. Like every one of these guys has got an issue, and it can affect you on game day or can affect you not on game day. And, in some sorts of things, but we don't have at this point, there isn't a guy who like, man, we really need, like when you need something to happen. And I never thought I'd be as upset about it because like we had Devontae where he'd throw it to him 25,000 times a game and it always drove me nuts. The guy who I would trust the most at this point is Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft. That's what I was going to say too.
And the problem is we have too many guys. And the only good news is none of them are so diva-ish that they get mad that they don't get 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yep.
But at some point, something's going to happen where, they're going to want some money and they're going to want to get paid. And which one is, they're like, hey, well, I only caught freaking 50 balls last year. You don't get, you're only going to get $12 million a year, not freaking 20 million or whatever these damn receivers are making nowadays.
Are you saying Reed to the Vikes? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying we can't keep all these guys.
Right.
And some of them, and as a Packer fan, unfortunately, I think the Packers need to decide this is the guy or this is not the guy. Mm-hmm. And I think it becomes a point where, as Jason and as you just said, when you're not getting consistent targets, you can lose concentration or lose your stuff or whatever it is because you're not in the flow of the game.
Yep.
And to have everybody on your team be not in the flow of the game because they're only getting 3 to 4 targets a game,
yep,
it can affect them and it can make them not hit their top potential. So I think as an organization, they need to decide what they got to do, and they haven't done it yet. But next year is the 4th year for Watson and Dobbs, and the 3rd year for the other guys. And you're going to have to decide who can you pay, who do you let go, and who is going to be the focal points that you can afford to pay. And yeah, it's going to cost a little more because you're giving them the ball more, but you don't know yet. If you're going to pay any of them any type of money, you have to prove to us that they can make a play when it needs to happen, or they're not worth it. Or you can just let them go like MVS, and he can go to other teams and score touchdowns for them like he's been doing. And that's what I want to see. They got to decide which guy. Who's going to be the guy or two? Pick 2 guys out of those 5, right?
Right.
And one of them is going to be Tucker Kraft because he's too damn good. They better sign his ass when his time comes because he's an all-around tight end. But the receivers, and then somebody's mentioning Bo Melton. Bo Melton's freaking good. And then we got a guy on the bench who I think is one of my favorites. And that's Malik freaking
Heath.
Malik Heath sitting on the bench. He doesn't even get to play. He don't even suit him up anymore.
But he's fired up.
But he's better than freaking the Vikings' 3rd guy, whoever the hell that is.
Yeah. Powell.
Who's the Vikings' 3rd guy? I don't even know.
Well, it's 2 guys.
Naylor, right?
So they have Jalen Naylor.
Oh, Jalen Naylor. Yeah. Well, he's been doing pretty good this year.
And then Powell. Yeah. So he was good early in the year, and I think it's one of those things. He doesn't get a ton of targets, and he's had some drops. So, and I think my Jake Reed example is just it. Like, he is a guy who's one of the best number 2 receivers in the league if you give him steady targets, or a guy who's just drops the ball all the time because he can't get in the flow of the game. And it is interesting because the depth obviously is there for the Packers wide receiver room, but you still, to make things work, it's just proven you have a number 1 guy, you have a number or 2 number 2s, or however you want to do it, and you give them the volume because they're the ones you trust. And if I'm Gutekunst, I keep Dobbs and probably Reed and Wicks is probably the 3 I would keep. And obviously you're going to keep your tight end because the tight end
you don't have any
separate
speed.
From that.
If you do that, you have no speed, Mo. You don't have the threat downfield.
Do you really need that much speed?
You could sign Bo Melton for
dude. I'm telling you right now,
Bo Melton can run the top off. You just have him do what he does.
I guess.
Have him do the Watson.
The difference between Aaron Rodgers' numbers when he had Jordy Nelson to when he didn't have Jordy Nelson, and then when he finally had MVS for 1 year, and then Christian Watson for 1 year.
Yep.
His yards per attempt and his touchdowns, like he had 0 touchdowns, 30 or 40 yards downfield after Jordy got hurt for a long time until MVS finally had like a 1 good year, and then Christian Watson that one time with Rodgers the last year with things back. Otherwise, with Devontae Adams and all these slow guys, it ain't happening. They won't throw it. No, that was him not throwing. Maybe it was him not throwing the ball to the guy downfield. I don't know. Because a lot of times he's throwing like these out routes, these 20-yard out routes, perfect pass, and the guy catches it at the sideline and goes out of bounds right away because he loves to do that instead of trying to throw it downfield in the middle because it might be intercepted. You can't have that because it's Aaron Rodgers.
Right. But do you have someone who's fast enough, I guess is my question, because I feel like, obviously Jefferson can go deep, and Addison can go deep, but they're not the fastest wide receivers in the world. I mean, they're fast enough, but they're not like the speed demon people of the league either.
The thing that scares me is after watching the All-22, I've seen some plays that the Packers run, and none of these guys are getting open. The only guy who can beat one-on-one coverage deep is Christian Watson. He continuously gets past this guy. Now, it takes him until about the 30-yard downfield before he gets past them, because it takes him a while to get up to that top speed. But it just gets exponentially, more distance between him and the cover guy because he's so damn fast. And then Jordan Love underthrows him half the time. But the other guys, when you watch all 22, they're not getting as open on really any route sometimes. The only guy is Wicks, but he drops balls all the time. So they need, so Love is sitting back there and he's looking at it, and sometimes he won't throw the ball, and sometimes he throws like crap. But I don't know. These are all questions that are for after the season, but
Sure.
It's getting late. We should probably focus on this game coming up. I'm excited. Mo, what's your take?
Hold on.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, like we've been talking about crap, like the future of the Packers wide receivers. Like
you've been talking about it. Just be quiet for a minute.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
Drake is here, and Drake says he doesn't agree with you, and I don't agree with you either. I don't know where that came from, but I don't like it.
He's a Bears fan. He don't know nothing.
He said, but this flow has been going on for 2 years. I think your points are valid, but they're used to it, and I think it's an advantage, not a disadvantage. And I agree. This is the offense that we wanted to see. This is the ultimate idea for a quarterback in an offensive game attack, is that the defense has no idea who you're going to target. And I understand what Mo's saying. How some guys maybe can't handle going a long time without getting targets, but the difference from the Packers game and the Packers receivers in particular are that they all stay engaged in the game because they all block. So if they're, so they do that. So they're all still, it's not like Devontae Adams or Chris Carter where they don't really block and you just run around and piss around when it's not a play going to you, right? They actually stay engaged in the game and they block. And so
don't forget Randy Moss. He took at least 10 plays off every game. He just would stand there and do nothing.
They're in the flow. They're in the flow of the game because they're blocking. They're doing different things. There's enough plays where they have to do, they got to block for a wide receiver screen, or they got to, do some different things maybe for a tight end, or they got the runs, and then they mix in the jet sweeps. For whatever reason, or a couple of weeks there, LaFleur stopped doing jet sweeps. It was like, why? Why aren't we giving the ball to Jaden Reed? Why aren't we trying Bo Melton once in a while on a jet sweep? Let's do it. But Christian Watson makes a difference when he's in there just because he's so fast. And like Ben said, he doesn't have to do anything fancy, Mo. He just runs straight. And after 20 yards, he's beat the guy that is guarding him. Like, that's just what happens. So unless they're rolling a safety over the top and doubling him for sure, like, he's going to get open within 20 yards on every play. That he just runs straight. Just run straight. That's all he's got to do. Doesn't have to be a fancy route runner. So, but the other guys do. The only guy that is comparable is Bo Melton. And now if Watson's out again, because he gets hurt all the time, and I don't even know how he hurt his knee on that play, but whatever. He's hurt again. So Bo Melton is the guy that's got to stretch the field and open up the 20-yard in cuts and doing all that sort of stuff by pushing the safeties back. You need that guy to make this offense work properly. Just look at the 49ers. They've struggled a lot more this last year without having some speed guy to vertically threaten the safeties, to push them back, to open that spot between safeties and linebackers. So you can have the guy from the outside running their 20-yard ins or their crossers that end up like 15, 20 yards, and they're wide open because the safeties are so deep. So you got to have that guy that can run them and threaten them deep. Even if he can't catch that good, doesn't matter. As long as there's afraid he's going to beat him deep, might give him a big play, that's what happens. MVS, yep. MVS was great.
You said they get the runs.
I did say
did. I said they stopped
getting the runs. They stopped giving them the runs. Why?
Okay, well, that's better. Stop getting the runs.
The runs are working. Stick with the runs. Anyway.
As soon as you said it, I looked at Ben and I saw his face. I'm like, oh gosh, he's going to say something about
of course, but that's the show. But we thought
it's the Pooh show.
We did think at some point, we've talked about this before, and it's at some point, these guys, right, they're in there for receivers, especially, or especially running backs, but even receivers, right? you're that second contract is a chance for you to make some money.
Yeah.
And these guys, the way they're being utilized, they're not going to have the stats to get paid a lot of money. And so maybe it's like the Packers' genius move to hold them all down so they can try to keep most of them because they won't get paid that much money. And I don't know, but I just think
also, but that's going to hold them down from winning the freaking Super Bowl.
Right.
That's if they pull shit like that.
It's a way that's working as long as the players are not selfish. And right now they're all about the team. If they win the Super Bowl, I think some of these players are going to be like, okay, I've done that. Now I want to get some numbers. Now I want to get my stuff and I want to get my money. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably what would happen if this young Packers team wins the Super Bowl in the next couple of years. But for now, it's working. And yes, Tucker Kraft, Romeo Doubs has got to be a keeper, and probably Jaden Reed. And then you probably could hold on to Wicks just because he's had so many issues and he's got some talent, but he's had a lot of issues. I mean, everybody was saying before the season, Wicks was going to be this breakout guy, like not just us, like nationally, across the seas. Higgity was saying it. Everybody's saying it that Dontavian Wicks was going to be a breakout star
across the seas.
Yeah, leading wide receiver of the Packers attack was going to be Dontavian Wicks, and that hasn't happened at all. But he's gotten plenty of opportunities, but couldn't catch them. Romeo Doubs catches everything. It's just weird. He's got great hands. He catches all the stuff. You see some of the catches he had last week, 2 weeks ago.
That's a guy you need to feature, though, right? I mean, it's when you think about it, that's in his prime with the Vikings. That's all Adam Thielen was. He just could get open and he caught everything. He just caught everything. So throw him the ball more. Just throw him the ball more. I mean, I don't know. What they're doing is obviously working. As Ben said, they're scoring a lot of points, especially recently, even though it's against sometimes some pretty bad teams, but also some good teams.
We're getting our defense, which we haven't even talked about, has been getting turnovers in the opponent's. Like we're getting the ball in the red zone. Yep. Like our yards per game isn't that great, but we're still getting like 30 points.
Yeah, short fields, right?
Yeah, Jordan Love's got like 190 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, and Josh Jacobs has got 80 yards rushing. So and you're looking at sometimes you barely have 300 yards of total offense, but we got 30 points, and defense isn't scoring. And the other thing that's helped us is we picked up McManus at kicker, and he ain't missing kicks like the other ding dongs we've had the last 2 years. So that's helped us a lot. We're getting a lot more field goals when our drives stall out. He hit a 55-yarder last week. So, and a 47.
How did you get McManus? I'm like, how did they get McManus? Because they had because Packers had some kicking woes, right? And they're going through guys, and all of a sudden, like, they got McManus. How did they get McManus? He's been so good. Like, he was in Denver forever. Like, how did they get some good veteran kicker off the free agent heap? How'd that happen?
He was with the Jaguars last year, and he had a little something happened on their trip back from London on the plane.
Okay.
And there was a lawsuit against him for maybe trying to do some touchy-feelies with the stewardess or something like that.
Oh.
And the Jaguars cut him, so he was out there as a free agent. And the Packers were so desperate, they usually would not touch somebody who had that situation.
That's true.
But the charges were dropped eventually, and therefore he was able to. The NFL was like, go ahead, somebody sign him, and that's how we got him. But he's only on their contract for this year, so they better sign him for next year because
they should
a damn kick because it's dumb not to keep him.
He's solid. He's really good.
So maybe we lowered our standards for once, and we normally don't lower our standards for.
Gotcha.
That's true. Anders was a nice guy, but he couldn't make kicks.
Oh, he missed a kick for the Jets.
I know.
And Aaron Rodgers kept going for it on 4th down to try to get his 500th touchdown, but he couldn't do it. The poor guy.
He's waiting. It's got to be Devontae. He's going to make sure.
Well, Devontae had it. He caught it. And then the defender knocked it out of his hands.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right. Mikey Moe, about this game coming up, what are you thinking in terms of what concerns you about what you've seen from the Packers? Any concern? Like, what are your biggest concerns going into this game?
Well, I'm concerned about how well they run the ball. I think it's no secret they're going to give Jacobs the ball a lot early and often. And the run defense of the Vikings has been okay, right? But like I said, teams tend to try to pass on them more, right? So that's kind of a Are they truly tested? Some of their yards per carry against is okay, but they've also given up pretty big running days against teams like Arizona, who has a running quarterback too, right? But also San Francisco, they had ran well against them early in the season, right?
We have a running quarterback too, Malik Willis. We could put him in for special plays,
and maybe you should.
But they don't.
Obviously, the Lions ran the ball well against. So I think teams with good running attacks, they've still had trouble against. So that's probably my number one concern. Is if they can't stop the run, that's going to obviously open up everything for the Packers offense. The other thing is, it seems like at times, as fun as Flores' defense is to watch sometimes, it's also maddening because it'll be like 3rd and 10, and they blitz and then play this super soft zone, and then the guy dumps it off to his running back in the flat because he has to, and there's no one there to tackle him, and he gets 10 yards in a first down. Like, what? Why are you making that so easy? And I felt like the last time the Packers play, or even the last few times, it seems like what Love has been doing well is buying time or avoiding sacks, and he'll just float one out to whoever's open if the blitz doesn't get on top of them immediately. So I feel like there's holes in the secondary for the Vikings, even though they're second in the league in interceptions. I think a lot of that comes from pressure and other things too, but they still give up a lot of yards and some big plays there, and they mix in a lot of zone and man, but I feel like there's holes there that could be taken advantage of, especially if the Packers can stay ahead of the sticks. I'm also concerned about the Packers pass rush has looked really good recently in recent weeks. I mean, they put 7 sacks on Seattle.
They played Seattle's crappy offensive line and the Saints' crappy offensive line.
Yeah, but Seattle, I mean, I don't know, they seem to perform better against, I think the Vikings only sacked them twice, but
did you see did you happen to see Kenny Clark in the Detroit Lions game?
Kenny Clark had found the fountain of youth.
Kenny Clark took some special supplements before that one because he was pursuing. He was all over the field. That he had like 8 tackles.
Yeah.
And that's usually like a fourth of his season or a third of his season.
It was a fourth of his season. He had So 32 tackles all year. The thing is, them were that one game.
And he took the same shot before last game, but it wore off after 1 quarter. Whereas in the Detroit game, it lasted 4 quarters. So he's already built up a tolerance, unfortunately, to whatever was helping him gain that advantage. But anyway, it was amazing to see one.
I'm sure he's licking his chops because he's still got Garrett Bradbury, who I think he's playing as well as he can, but he still gets dumped in the quarterback's lap at least once per game. His pass sets he just gets overpowered sometimes. So, but they did replace their right guard. So Reisner's at right guard now over Ingram, and he's a much better pass blocker. Maybe not as great as a run blocker, but a much better pass blocker. But Garrett Bradbury could still be had sometimes. And then, but I will say, I know you guys like unsung guys, especially offensive lineman Jace. So, the Vikings went out and got Cam Robinson from the Jaguars after Darisaw got injured for the season. And he's played great. I mean, maybe not Darisaw great, but he's just, had to step in right away after a couple days. And he was awesome in that game and has just been steady the whole time. So, so the offensive line's been good, but it'll be a good test. I think the Packers have been getting after the quarterback pretty well too. So those are my concerns. Do you guys have any concerns?
The biggest ones for you to watch are on the inside, Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks. They're going to make the most destructive things on the inside. The outside guys really for the Packers they're not that scary. I mean,
it's like our 5th and 6th guys are the best on the team. As far
they're
as
slow. Like Gary's a little too slow, and Van Ness just gets blocked. Like he's faster and he pursues and he hustles, but as soon as guys get their hands on him, he's kind of done. He can't get away from him.
We also have addition by subtraction. Preston Smith is no longer here.
Yep.
And now they're playing Aaron Mosby, who is
and Cox Jr.
Who used to play safety in college, and now he's defensive end.
Wow.
Somehow, because he's like 6'3", 250 pounds or something.
Wow.
Anyways, but he's dropped back in coverage and doing pretty good. Like actually covers people instead of just standing there looking at you. So that's good news. He's way better than Preston Smith ever did.
Well, if you used to play safety, that would make sense that he should know
Right,
how to do that a little bit.
It's weird. But here's the thing that concerns me. I'm going to ask. I don't know if you heard Matt LaFleur's press conferences this week here, Jace, but they asked Matt LaFleur about how
I tried to watch it or listen to it last night, and then I fell asleep. That's my when I can't sleep. I play Matt LaFleur press conference.
Smart, very smart. But I think it was Tom Silverstein who asked him, because this is something that Silverstein's been talking about all year, and me too. Is earlier in the year, Matt LaFleur would win the toss and choose to not receive the ball.
Right.
He would choose to receive it in the second half. And it was bad because the Packers would fall behind, and then they would try to get out of his play calls, and it would be all a mess. The last couple of weeks, he's taking the ball, and the Packers go down and score right away. And they just dominate. Like, they just give the ball to Josh Jacobs like 9 out of 10 times, and he freaking scores a touchdown in the end, and they dominate the whole first drive. And somebody asked him, is this something that you're going to be doing in the future? Like, what goes into that decision? And Matt LaFleur said he doesn't decide until right before the game. He says it's a feel thing. And everybody on the planet knows that's what you should be doing when you have a running team that controls the line of scrimmage and wants to control the clock and put the pressure on the opposing team. Just take the damn ball and score and freaking just run it down their throats right off the bat. Because when you fall behind, then we didn't do that earlier in the year. But LaFleur says it's not something that he figured out on his own. It's not something after, contemplation on it for a while. It's something before the game. He's like, I think we'll take the ball this time. I think we'll kick it this time. So I'm hoping to God that either we win the toss and Matt LaFleur takes the ball, or the Vikings win the toss and decide to take it in the second half, because that's our key to our victories. Whenever we get the ball first, we win. We've won every time we've gotten the ball first. And our 4 losses have all happened when we didn't get the ball first. Now, we also happen to play 3 teams that have only lost like 7 games all year, with the Eagles and the Vikings and the Lions. The 3 best teams in the freaking conference, and those are the only losses we have. But still, we did lose those games, and we did not have the ball when we had the chance to. A couple times, he chose to not take the ball. Take the damn ball. Okay.
Well, it's definitely deflating if you can do what they did against Seattle and just
you get the ball and you just dominate the whole, and the defense is like, we're screwed. Like, we can't stop these guys. And then the offense is like, shit, our defense can't stop them. We got to score every time. And then they maybe press and screw up. And then the Packers get the ball back on the second drive, and guess what they do? Score another damn touchdown. They did it against the Seahawks, did it against the Saints. They just dominated from the start. And that's it's not fun. It's not like a super entertaining to watch Josh Jacobs run for 2 yards, and then 4 yards, and then 8 yards, and then 3 yards, and then 5 yards, and then -1 yard, and then 7 yards, and then 6 yards, and then get a screen pass for another 12 yards. But we score touchdowns every time. It ain't like a Justin Jefferson 30-yard catch downfield, and he jukes a guy, and then, runs out of bounds like a chump. We're not talking like that. It's not fun to watch, but it sucks the soul out of the opponent. That's how we can win against the Vikes. Grab the ball, smack the piss out of them, and then they screw up. We get it back. We're up 4. If we do the same thing again, and we're up 14-0 before you know it, and the Vikes are pressing. Sam Darnold starts seeing ghosts like they did with the Jets, and and then of course KOC is like, oh crap, we got to give Aaron Jones a break. Dumb move. Next thing you know, the Packers are up 21-0.
It's well, I don't know what to say. I think
hey,
you were going to say something before, Ben.
I was.
I know
that. What was it?
Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know that Kevin O'Connell likes to take the ball also when he wins the toss. And I was at a home game, and they won the toss, and they took the ball. And I was mad. I'm like, you got your home crowd here. You want the defense out there first. Everyone's like riled up. Get them out there and playing defense. But then, they scored right away. And then they were even more amped up when the defense got out there. And so, it made sense. But he's an offensive guy. I'm just going to say it's unlikely they'll defer. But we'll see what happens, Ben.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. I will say also Ivan Pace Jr. should be back from IR, the linebacker. And Harrison Smith should be back playing safety as well.
Harry's back.
It looked like Quay Walker might be out. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not a big loss.
Not a concern.
Okay.
We got Eric Wilson, former Viking.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Eric Wilson. Yeah, he had a great year right before the Vikings didn't sign him back.
Yep.
We went over that a couple weeks ago on our show, how Eric Wilson is, because he's been doing well. He had last week's game, did much better, Ben. You're right. It was just an off game for him the week before against Seattle.
I said it's the opposite of Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark has one good game and the rest of them stink. Eric Wilson had one bad game and all the other ones are good.
Yeah, he was good this week.
And Eric Stokes had one good game last week. Probably ain't going to happen this week.
Yeah.
Eric Stokes had a good game last week, Mo. He actually played pretty good. I was surprised.
But Isaiah McDuffie is a strength for us. He tackles everything.
I like him. He's a good player.
Our linebackers are good. The concern for the Packers, you asked about concerns before. The concern is really us trying to cover the Vikings receivers because we don't have a lot going there.
It's a little scary.
Like we have a light cornerback group and they're hurt. And then we've got Jair who never comes back to play, and Stokes is not very good. And then Valentine's kind of Rochelle's Keyshawn's our best corner, and he can only cover one spot. And then we have injuries to the safeties that we need in the game to strengthen the coverage with Bullard in the slot and Evan Williams back deep. We're feeling pretty good. But with those two guys out, we're kind of in trouble against passing teams. And the Vikings.
Zane Anderson had a decent game last week.
He did. He had a pick.
He was filling the run. He had a pick. He was in the right spots at the right time.
Yeah.
He didn't screw up. So that's all good stuff. Now, but it was against Saints and that Rattler guy. He didn't know jack squat. So, I mean, this is Sam Darnold who's playing pretty good.
Yep.
So I have a question for you guys. Since you're pretty good football minds, right? Because I always think about this sort of thing.
Speak for me there, Mo.
When you get against teams that are, because here's one thing that I know Mike Zimmer always says, that you can never have enough defensive backs. And he always said that because they get hurt all the time, right? They're doing all this running, you pull hamstring, all this stuff, right? But you get in a situation like a matchup like this, top corners are out, top in quotation marks, but right. And then you got some depth problems there, right? So can you shift your person? Is the offensive schemes for coaches just not flexible enough to say, hey, we're going to go 4 wide a lot today or 5 wide, and we're just going to put a ton of receivers out on the field because they don't have anyone to cover them, because we think our 3rd and 4th receiver are better than their because of injuries and whatnot, their 5th and 6th corner. Why don't you see that more? Because I feel like why wouldn't you want that matchup?
Here's the thing that really is surprising to me is in the Mike McCarthy heyday, Aaron Rodgers days, the Packers did that all the time. Mm-hmm. And people make fun of Mike McCarthy because he's kind of a dingle fart and whatever. But you got to admit, for years and years, when we had like 5 awesome receivers, we would run 5 wide receiver sets. There were times when Randall Cobb was playing running back and they'd move him in motion, and we had 5 guys. We had Jordy and Donald Driver and Greg Jennings and Randall Cobb as a rookie and James Jones. We had all 5 of those guys out there on plays because we knew your 4th and 5th guy can't cover Randall Cobb and Donald Driver. Sorry.
Do you remember those days, Mo?
Yep.
And the difference, I think, is the system has become so important to guys since the Kyle Shanahan and the McVay. These guys think that this system is the way to go. This system is the best system. This system is how it's at. And they think it's good to have all these players, and they love to get them reps. And they're always like, oh, we got to find a way to get that guy reps. We got to find a way to get that guy reps. And they don't realize that you have an advantage by putting your 4th guy out there against their 4th guy who's not that good. If you think he's good, why are you constantly like sharing the load? Like this guy gets 35 snaps, this guy gets 34 snaps, but they're not getting snaps together. And the Packers do that under Matt LaFleur. They've done it the whole time. It makes no sense. And especially lately when we have all these really good young receivers, it's very seldom that they run 4 wide receiver sets. Like I've never seen it. I just don't.
Yeah.
And Matt LaFleur loves tight ends. I've seen him run 3 tight end sets more than he's ever run a 4 wide receiver set.
Right.
And I don't know why, because you're exactly right. They could take advantage of it and they don't. And I think it's because these guys think that their system, and maybe they don't have 4 wide receiver sets in their system. I don't know. They also have certain things where I know Matt LaFleur does it where he has multiple plays that are the same exact play from different formations and different player personnel.
Yeah.
But the personnel is not that diverse. It'll be like you take a tight end out and you put in a big or a slot receiver, and that slot receiver now has the tight end route. It's the same play, and then they try to make it look like it's a different play, but it's really the same damn play.
Sure.
And then they have like 4 plays off of that one play because it tricks the defense into thinking this is this, but it's actually a play action and blah, 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 and all this crap. But it's actually, they only have so many plays. And I think when McCarthy was the coach, I think there's more often the times where they were looking at the opposing team and analyzing their weaknesses and usually I still remember when we played the Ravens one time. I can't remember what year it was, but we played the Baltimore Ravens when they had Ray Lewis at linebacker in the middle of the field. And we played 4 wide receivers the whole game. Aaron Rodgers threw every pass to the outside. He never once and we never attempted to run to the inside either.
That's right.
And we threw the ball like 50 times that game, and Rodgers just threw to the outside. And sometimes it was like a 5-yard out route. And Ray Lewis was so pissed after that game. He had like 1 tackle. Like we never had anybody anywhere near him the whole game. And we just took him out of the game and we won. And that's the kind of thing I have not seen with Matt LaFleur. And other people are like, Matt LaFleur he's the best coach who never wins coach of the year because he's always just so good, but never good enough. And this year he's not going to win it either because you got guys like the KOC with the Vikes who nobody thought they're going to do jack shit. And they're freaking got 13 wins.
He's going to win it.
So you're 100% right, Mo. I don't know why teams don't do it. I don't know why when you have a guy who's really good. And then the Vikings are different. I think they are top heavy. But they still sometimes will bring in guys and I don't know. Do they do more substitutes or do they do 3 and 4 wide receiver sets?
I mean, they do a fair amount of 3 receiver sets. They always like to have a tight end in there, obviously with Hawkinson. But even when he was injured, I feel like Oliver was more of a blocking tight end, but he's not bad, But then they got Johnny Munt, who I think just gets way too many snaps. Even if it's a handful, it's too many. He's just. It's like, what? Why is Johnny Munt? Why is Johnny Munt in the game when you have like a super fast guy and Jalen Naylor who could be more dynamic? Why are you running 2 tight end sets if he runs 2 tight end sets in this game against the Packers with banged up secondary? Why would you do that? It's kind of like you said, why run at Ray Lewis? And that the game they had against the Niners, Fred Warner had like this amazing, massive game. He's their best defensive player. Why not just run things away from him? Why give him a chance to make plays? You want the matchups, right? And but I feel like I'm saying, I watched some things that Kevin O'Connell does. He schemes these guys open sometimes, right? This play is designed to get this guy open, put pressure on this guy to get this guy open. And great, but what if that guy is Fred Warner, or what if this guy's a really good player? Like it might not work. So what if maybe it would work better if we did this with their 6th cornerback and take advantage of that matchup and force him to make a play. So I don't know. There's probably 2 different schools of thought, but it baffles me a bit that they don't try to do things like that a little bit more. So I hope that they do spread them out, at least use a lot of 3 wide receiver sets against the Packers. But it's going to be interesting. It might end up being a bit of a shootout, I think, unless there's a lot of clock control with the Packers in the running game. But it should be fun.
The other thing I was talking about earlier, sorry, just real quick, I swear I will not be fast. But earlier in the year, we talked about the Packers had a really bad red zone offense, and they would play 3 tight ends and gum everybody in there, and their offensive line is not maulers, and we couldn't get the ball, and we wouldn't score touchdowns. And I'm like, what are we doing? And I talked about when the Packers had Dorsey Levens, and Mike Holmgren would play Dorsey Levens in 4 wide receiver sets. And it would bring in all these defensive backs, and you got a 235-pound running back who would just run through everybody and beat the snot out of them and in the red zone. And Dorsey had tons of touchdowns because He didn't have a fullback in front of him and tight ends, and then the defense would bring in all these big guys because they had to worry about covering guys. And that's what scares me as a Packer fan against, if I was like, as a Packer fan with our secondary the way it is, if a team came out and even ran the ball against our secondary, we don't have great tacklers.
No.
We got Keyshawn, that's about it. And the other team could take advantage of that against us, and that would scare the crap out of me. And I don't know why more teams don't do it from watching the film and seeing how Eric Stokes don't want to tackle nobody. Valentine don't want to tackle nobody. Xavier McKinney don't want to tackle nobody. Nope. Go right at those guys. If I was an opposing team, I would definitely do that. Even if your wide receivers don't block, who cares? Because the corners don't want to tackle. They can just do the pussyfoot, pretend like you're blocking them, and they'll gladly pretend like they're being blocked so they don't have to freaking get in the play. Because I've seen it happen. Go ahead, Jay.
The guys that want to tackle from the secondary, the only guys that will tackle, I should say, are Bullard, Keyshawn Nixon, and Evan Williams. And right now,
Bullard gave a concussion because of it.
Right, and right now, Evan Williams and Bullard are out all the time. So Keyshawn Nixon is our only. And Zane Anderson tries to tackle, he's okay, but like McKinney is so. He's just not physical at all. He's not
so much hype. I don't get. I'm not saying he's bad.
He made all the picks. He's going to be an All-Pro this year. Because
I know he is. He got 7 picks. I know.
And it's great that he is good at finding the ball in the air, and he's good at catching it. So we'll give him credit for that. But a safety, also one of his key jobs is tackling and being physical and breaking up passes. And McKinney does none of that stuff. So if you run, he's not going to tackle you. Eric Stokes doesn't want to tackle you. Actually, if Valentine gets in, Valentine will tackle.
Yeah.
Right? He's more physical. So our
but he doesn't cover very well. So there's always guys wide open around him.
Our corners that aren't on the field very often, they will actually play the run better, except for Keyshawn. So literally, if you're the Packers' opponent, you just find out what side. If Jair was in there, you'd run at him, or if it's Stokes, you run at him, or Valentine, run at him. Done.
I've got film from I think it was the. What game was the last time I did?
Cooper tackles David because he's crazy. He doesn't wrap up, but he just throws his shoulder.
Yeah, Cooper. He's crazy. But it was the game against the Crapperoni, the Seahawks, and the Seahawks running back had a 40-yard touchdown run or 28-yard touchdown run because they just ran to the side that Eric Stokes and Xavier McKinney were on, and the there's Packer brass or Packer not reporter, whatever, talking heads like us, idiots on YouTube. We're talking about how. Eric Stokes didn't have his mouthpiece in, and Xavier McKinney. Well, they didn't say Xavier McKinney didn't have his mouthpiece in, but he didn't have his mouthpiece in, and because they're not looking to tackle, they're just standing there. And then the ball started coming to them. The running backs coming. They're like, "Oh crap!" And then Eric Stokes is like, "Oh shit!" And he's trying to get his mouthpiece in. And while he's doing that, here comes a offensive lineman who blocks the crap, shoves him out of bounds, and he's useless because he's sitting there trying to get his mouthpiece in because he sees that the running back's coming to him. He's like, "Oh shit! I'm going to get hit. Or I'm going to have to try to make a tackle here." These guys don't want to tackle.
Well,
and
the good
news see that they can take advantage of it.
The good news for you is that Kevin O'Connell will always get away from the running game. He always does.
Oh, well, that's good. I like that.
All the time. It's just like even when it's working, I'm like, just keep running the ball. But he loves to pass too much. He'll always get away from the run. So there's that. Plus, Aaron Jones could be a problem, but only if he gets the ball enough, right? And then secondly, TJ Hawkinson is really good at getting open. And he can catch okay, but he just falls over. Anyone can tackle him. If you touch him a little bit, he goes down. He never really – sometimes you can get a little surge forward, but it's just kind of like a little surge and gets in there a yard or two, and then he goes down. So you won't have a problem tackling him. And Jordan Addison's really tiny. He's pretty quick, but he's going to go down if you touch him. So really the only guy you have to worry about is probably Justin Jefferson. And then – maybe Josh Oliver, but he just mostly is there for blocking. But when he catches, he's like a humongous, massive human being, so he might drag guys a little bit. So those are the only guys you might have trouble tackling a little bit is Jefferson and maybe Oliver. So
if our linebackers can get to him, they'll tackle him, but our defensive backs will not tackle him except for Keyshawn. So that's the main concern is the Packers' defensive tackling, and then their coverage and the secondary is not great. It's just. It wasn't great coming out of camp, and that's where David brought up. I wonder what's I'm curious about Kalen King. Well, he did pretty good for us, and the Packers didn't even have him on the roster. And this was a perplexing thing going into the season. They kept 5 corners, and 2 of them were Eric Stokes and Jair, who get hurt all the time. And so it was just very confusing. Like, why would you keep 5 corners, only 5, when you have 2 of them that are always hurt? And you had this guy who played pretty well. And luckily they stashed him on the practice squad, but I feel like he should be active on game day. Because if the Packers have an injury in the secondary during the game, I don't know what they're going to do. What's their plan, Ben? What do they do?
Well, they got Rochelle. I think he's been on the active roster the last couple times, or at least they brought him out with the practice squad. But it's whatever. It's fine. Okay, it's midnight, guys. What is what is this? What is this game? What are we going to do in here? What are we talking about? I'm saying this.
What's the key to this game?
My heart. Well, the key to the game is Aaron Jones.
Oh,
everybody. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. No, the key is I think if the Packers can grab a hold of the ball right away and shove it down their throats, it takes away the tricks. It takes away Flores' tricks if you can run the ball at him. You know what I mean? Because it takes you out of being forced to pass, and then all that fancy showing the blitz and getting out of there and running. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything. So that's the key, the Packers running game. And if they can keep that up, we're in good shape. We'll win. Because I think Sam Darnold might throw a pick or 2.
Oh.
But if we let the Vikings off the hook, like Denny Green says, we knew what they thought they were, and we let them off the hook. If that happens, then we're in trouble. So that's the key. Running game for the Pack. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm so pumped.
I hope it's a great game,
to watch a super good game, because we've watched 2 stinkers they're not stinkers. I mean, we wiped the snot out of the 2 teams, but it's good to see a game where it's actually going to be competitive. But the Packers owe the Vikings one. As far as it's time for us to win that damn thing, because we lost at Lambeau the last 2 years. That's bullshit, and we're gonna take them out. Yeah, and last year we only won because they didn't have Kirk Chains.
10 points,
30 to 10. That's a wild man says.
10
Pack
points?
30, Vikings 10. Packers defense.
I don't know about that.
Down. Packers defense just pitched a shutout. The only shutout in the NFL. They're the best defense in the NFL.
Oh
dude, they didn't have their starting 3 wide receivers, their starting tight ends, their starting running back, and their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Hey, Rattler, he's been a quarterback before.
It's one thing if you're down like a couple of those things, but they didn't have any of their starters at any damn position on offense.
They didn't even have Taysom Hill.
I know. And the secret weapon was not there. Like,
Jason. What? Rattler's been a quarterback before. Like, what kind of argument is that?
It's true. It's a true argument.
Oh, look at Dad swearing.
Higgity says, "Oh, the Vikings O-line's going to get squashed, and the Vikings win 27-16." What is
Dad's got to fix his finger.
Defense going to shit them down. Shit them down. Wow,
wild man. Watch your language, wild man.
It's a PG show, PG-13.
Oh my god.
Oh, now he says shut. Okay.
Oh,
I like shit him down. I think the Packers defense is going to shit down their legs. Maybe that'd be bad.
I don't think, I just don't see it unless the pass rush gets there. But Darnold is pretty good at avoiding the rush. He's pretty good at avoiding.
He's no Joe Burrow.
He's no Kirk Cousins either, though. He's not a fold up.
I know he's not Kirk. Yeah, Kirk Chains gets
going to shell. He'll keep plays alive and he'll still throw it. And the Packers are not great at covering. And so if they think the D line's going to get there and they let the guy be open, he could complete passes.
Well, we all know what the other secret. The secret for the Packers defense is get in Justin Jefferson's face and beat the snot out of that punk, and it takes him out of the game. But I said that. I've been saying that for years. He ain't that good, Mo.
Other than Keyshawn, they're not going to do it.
He has the second most yards in the league, and he's not that good.
Yeah, because they just let him run. If you just let him run all day and you don't freaking get his way,
Look at this, Ben. Look at this. Mo is basing his opinion on production. We are Packers fans, Mo. We don't care about production. We only care about potential and projection. No,
that's why we got 13 championships and you got none.
We paid Jair Alexander.
That was mean. I'm sorry, Mo.
No, we paid Jair Alexander top dollar because we think he's a great cornerback, even though the numbers don't back that up. We pay Rashawn Gary high money because we drafted him at number 12. He had 8.5 sacks 1 year, and we thought, wow, he might be a guy who could get 20 sacks sometime. So let's pay him a bunch of money. We draft Lucas Van Ness at number 13 because, wow, he looks great with his shirt off, and he can lift a lot of weights. So he must be good at football. That's what we do. The Packers don't care about your production, Mo. You take your production arguments and stick them down, stuff them down a hole, because we only care about projection and what these guys might be one day.
It's a weird argument, but
not a good one.
The thing but Josh Jacobs has produced. You can't deny his production.
Well, yeah, he's produced his whole career. He's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's been a producer. He's not a athletically, might be top of the ceiling guy. The Packers, we invest in athletic. Maybe one day could be a superstar guy, like a game-changing, life-changing guy in the NFL. We want to have as many Hall of Famers as possible. So we draft and we pick the guys that might have the athletic traits to one day become the best player at their position in the NFL. That's what we do. We don't care.
They never do that, but we always draft them to do that.
But guys like Isaiah McDuffie, you just tackle everything and make all the plays that you should make and make plays you shouldn't make. Those guys, we're probably going to let go after the end of this year. We won't sign them back, even though we could sign them back cheap. They'll probably end up being a Viking. That's probably what'll happen. Yeah.
No, you know who's going to be a Viking will be freaking TJ Slayton.
He's good. He's really good. I like him.
And then we'll get
He's big.
Can't run the ball at all against them.
He's so big.
Vikings really need defensive tackle. They can
I know.
use that.
The Vikings will probably sign him for like nothing, and we'll just let him go like idiots, and we'll be paying Kenny Clark $25 million to do nothing.
This sounds great. I like this.
And you got all that money. You can get him easily. You don't have to worry.
Listen, we're off track. Back to the game. Mo, what is your picking the game? Or you want to go last? I'll go first. The Packers are going to win.
David says, too.
It's another 30-point game.
30-point buck and a 30-point
32 to 27. 32 to 27. Packers win in a squeaker.
A squeaky cheese curd. David thinks they're gonna break that 30-point streak and win 28 to 24.
Oh, Dave. Well, we'll take that too. It's still a win.
Higgity from another continent thinks the Vikings are gonna squash them out and win 27 to 16. Come on, Packers are gonna score at least 27 points in this game, but I think even more than that. I say Packers win it 33, because 33 is the best number of all time for the Packers.
It is the best number.
To 24. Green Bay Packers. Cover the spread, win the game. Vikings fans go home.
Cover the spread. The spread is like, it's switched a lot this week. It's gone from the Packers to the Vikings to the Packers. It's been gone back and forth. It's weird.
Yeah. It opened, I think, for like 1.5 of the Vikings, and then it went to the Packers last I saw. But it's kind of a pick-em game, I think, at this point.
Well, now that Jair's been ruled out. I mean,
now he's ruled out. I mean, it's got to be the Vikings -1 again. I think is what it's been. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what I think. You won't like this, and I'm sorry, but I think this game means more to the Vikings than the Packers. I think the Packers they're already in the playoffs, right?
And they can't do anything about it.
They can kind of jostle maybe what wild card they are. I mean, they don't want to be the 7th, right? They don't want to. Right. I don't know if that's still a stretch because you don't want to play Philly.
They play the Bears next week, so
right. So it probably won't happen, right? Because you've got pretty much another bye week next week. Man. So you're not going to fall to the 7th seed because you don't want to go to Philly. No one wants to go there. It's annoying, right? So are you really going to try to fight to get that 5th seed versus 6th seed when maybe the 6th seed might even be a better matchup for you? So there's just not besides the rivalry, obviously, and some of that stuff, and being a big game, and pseudo prime time is the afternoon game that it got flexed to. They don't have as much to play for, just even aesthetically or whatever, than the Vikings do, because the Vikings have this chance to run the table, get that number 1 seed, a first round bye. And, I think that if there's a fix in this game, the fix might be in, and this time it might be against the Packers, because I think the NFL wants that Week 18 game against the Lions to mean something, because if the Vikings lose this game to the Packers, that Week 18 game against the Lions means nothing.
Well, who do the Lions play this week?
The
49ers.
49ers, who are out of it.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
even if the 49ers beat them, it doesn't matter. They still have to beat Detroit because of tiebreakers and stuff.
The game still matters if the Lions and the Vikings lose.
No, it doesn't.
No, because if the Lions beat the Vikings the final week of the season, they take the number 1 seed.
They have better division record, because we would lose a division game to the Packers if we would lose this week. So,
really?
And they beat you twice.
So the Vikings can't get the 1 seed unless the Lions lose both games?
No, the Vikings can't get the 1 seed unless they win the last 2 games.
Yeah, but if they win the last 2, then they get it, because they'd have a better record than the Lions.
Correct. Yeah, I'm saying if we lose to the Packers, Week 18 doesn't matter regardless. So the fix might be in for the Vikings, because the NFL want that to be a big, exciting Week 18 game. Maybe. We'll see.
That's not true.
Maybe the Packers will actually get called for a holding.
If the Lions lose to the 49ers and you beat them the next week, you still win the division.
No, we don't.
Yeah, the Vikings have to win the last 2 games to win.
No, so I'll explain one more time, Ben. So
the Lions would have 4 losses. The Vikings only have 3.
No, if they finish with the same record,
they wouldn't finish with the same record.
Yeah, you're right. If the
Lions lost to the 49ers and then the Vikings beat them, the Lions would have 2 losses and the Vikings would have 3.
Exactly. Yes.
The Lions would have 4 losses, the Vikings would have 3.
You're correct. That math is correct.
No, it's not.
Then you guys are right. How is it not right? It's totally right.
Jonathan's here. Hey, Jonathan.
Unless you're assuming that
it's because Detroit is not going to lose the Niners. You watch them play. This is not going to happen.
Brock Purdy might have something to say about that.
Anyway,
George Kittle might have something to say.
My point was that I feel like the game it has this, even looking at it black and white, has more meaning for the Vikings than the Packers. Right. I think I like that the Vikings are at home. They played really well at home. The fans have been great at home. Everyone's really excited for the season they've had and all these things, right? So I think there's a slight edge there. And I think you're discounting the fact that the Vikings defense, they might be leaky at times in yardage, but they're a good scoring defense. And they lead the league in turnovers, and they don't give up a lot of points. I don't think the Packers get to 30 points this game. I don't think they do.
Whoa.
But I think it will be more of a high scoring game. So my prediction is Vikings 30, Packers 27.
Wow. Okay. That could be right. I mean, I think Packers are kind of, you're right. Now that I think about it more, because they got the playoff berth. They're all excited about that. This game doesn't mean a lot to them, to be honest.
And it's Christmas week. They've been having Christmas.
Yeah.
Everyone's been having Christmas.
They're on but they got Christmas on the road. They just played Monday night too. So it's like it's like a short week. And
it is a shorter week, but they also didn't really have to play the whole game on Monday night either. So.
Jordan Love is in his PJs with his fiance and their baby and their dog, and I mean the baby's inside her still because it's a fetus. But whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say what happened. I thought that didn't happen.
Anyway, they had
talking about
matching PJs. But the whole deal, Packers probably are not as taking this game as serious. Maybe the Packers. I guess the Vikings probably will win. The only thing is, if the Vikings win, I want to see Aaron Jones be a major contributor and not this Aaron Jones not getting the score.
I saw an article that this is going to be the Aaron Jones revenge game. I didn't read the article. I just read the headline because I thought that was ridiculous. But because I don't think he's a vengeful person in general.
No, he's not at all.
So it's.
I mean, he likes to prove people wrong because that's what he's done his whole life.
Right.
But he's not going to it's not going to be from a place of anger or whatever. He's just going to do it and be like, that's his motivation. And he's just a great guy. And when he's done, he'll tell everybody, yes, sir, no, sir, and I love you and all that stuff and give him hugs. So maybe the Vikings win. And I just hope, I don't know, where are we at? Mo, if someone had told you, because before the season, we got to get you this before we let you go. before the season, people were talking about the Bears as being dangerous. Bears were going to be a threat. And then
did anyone believe it outside of Chicago? It seemed like too many people did, because it's a classic story of cart before the horse. They have a horrible offensive line. They can't run the ball consistently. A rookie quarterback who's running for his life. I mean, people are like, oh, look at all the weapons. Yes, great. You have a beautiful cart and no horses because you don't have an offensive line. And then you look at teams like the Lions, and I'll say the Packers, and even someone like the Ravens, guys, teams who can run the ball. Why? Because they have a great offensive line and they can protect. Look at Jared Goff; he barely gets touched any game because they run the ball a lot and they have a great offensive line. You need an offensive line. The rest is just gravy, and they don't have one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's true. It's just it's super funny to me that like coming into the season, everybody's like, "Oh, the Vikings are the bottom feeders, and the Packers, be okay, and the Bears, ooh, watch out!" And then the Bears.
Dude, I forgot to ask you, Jace.
What
did your heart drop when you saw Lukey Patrick get hurt on Monday night?
Yeah, it sucked. I felt bad for him, but he got some good money the last couple of years, so I feel good for him there.
Yeah.
But Dad pointed out early on, he had that penalty right away early in the game. And Dad texted me right away, Lucas Patrick got a penalty. And I texted him back and I was like, he's still loyal to the Pack, Dad. He was loyal to the Pack the 2 years in Chicago. He's still loyal to the Pack, man. Lucas Patrick, greatest Packer of all time. All right.
Okay, that's just what are you talking about?
He's my favorite Packer of all time. He's awesome.
Jason loves offensive linemen.
He's an offensive lineman who played his ass off. Everybody just wanted to replace him all the time. And all he did was stay on the team for 6 or 7 years because they couldn't find guys that were better than him because he played harder. But
Aaron Rodgers sat down next to him at lunch one day.
That
was him being a great leader, and that was the reason why.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers probably made him pay for lunch too, that fuckhead. But anyway, Lucas Patrick is awesome. Even though he looked older in this game, he should retire. I think he was a little scared of getting his knees taken out, and then it did get taken out. Sucked. But
I will say, and we could probably talk for hours, but I feel like I wonder if any rule changes will happen with seeding in playoffs, because like obviously in the NHL and NBA they seed on record, right? The division winners don't matter, but now you're going to have teams like the Vikings and Packers potentially, or even the Lions, where it works out, where you're going to have a 13-14 win team as a wild card, and then playing against a 7 or 8 and 9 division winner. It just seems crazy that they would get a home game for that, when really the toughest division in football is obviously the NFC North, and maybe you should reward teams they're only losing to themselves, right? Because they're kicking everyone else's butt, and maybe you shouldn't punish them and go on the road in the playoffs. But I will say that regardless of all that, hopefully they do just make some rule changes. But it's been a pretty fun season, and I'm so glad that this game, and hopefully next week too for the Vikings, but this game is so important, right? Late in the season and relevant, and both teams are just playing super well, even though Detroit's obviously playing super well. It just makes it kind of fun.
So how do you feel, Viking Moe, in this position when people thought your team wasn't going to be very good? And here you are, 13-2, 2 games left. You win them out. You get the number 1 seed in the NFC.
It's fun. That's exciting.
Crazy, right? It's crazy.
The thing is, I feel like people still maybe doubt the Vikings quite a bit despite their record, right? Because they've won some closer games, right? But that's what a lot of the NFL is. I think it's 7 out of 10 games or 1-score games every week, whatever. So, yeah. But here's their chance to prove it, right? You beat a quality team in the Packers, even if it's at home, right? You beat them early in the season, but now they're playing really well. And so you get a chance to beat them, and then a chance to take that number 1 seed away from Detroit the next week. There's your chance to prove it. And then people can't say, well, I guess maybe they are for real then. But then there's the playoffs. So there's always the playoffs, and no matter what happens, right? Both these teams are going to be in the playoffs and have a chance to make a run, and we'll see what happens.
The thing I would say about What were you talking about before?
The reseeding for playoffs.
Oh yeah, reseed. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Sorry, not in the football. If they let the Seahawks have an 8 or 7-9 record and host a playoff game, they're not gonna. That was years ago. They're not gonna change it now. So it's never gonna happen, no matter what. Even if the Packers and the Vikings both lose,
it's money based
on the road,
right?
or whoever. Yeah,
they're trying to keep the regions like, oh, we got a regional game here in this.
And
region,
I think
West
it's worth it to a division to guarantee, hey, you're going to get a home playoff game, at least. All you got to do is win your division, and even if your team stinks, you're gonna, every division is going to have a home playoff game, and I think that's worth something as much as this sucks.
Before we go, ask him.
What?
Ask him about the first round. If the Vikings don't get the number 1 seed, might they get bakered? Viking Moe.
Yeah, that's what we were wondering about.
What if you get bakered in the first?
Well,
I mean, that's a ways away. We don't know. But if you have to play Baker and then you get bakered out of the playoffs, would you just lose your mind or what?
Actually, well, it might be Kirk Cousins instead of right, but actually, it wouldn't be. It would be Penix now, right? Because
Yeah.
you got
Cousins
benched.
is out.
Right.
Is on the outs.
But we'll see how that shakes out. But I watched Baker Mayfield play a little bit more, and he's not quite as bad as he was. He's actually now he benefits quite a bit from his receivers, and he has a great offensive line. They have a great offensive line in Tampa Bay. And whatever I said earlier, if you have a great offensive line, you can do a lot of things. The rest is just gravy. But they have a great offensive line, right? So he's looked okay. Now, he also had a great offensive line in Cleveland, but he was terrible. I thought he was terrible. He's horrible. So I'm warming up to Baker Mayfield a little bit. I still don't think he's very good, but he's
he's a baller.
I'm warming up. I still don't think he's very good.
He's a baller. He just plays.
He just throws, man. He throws it. He don't care.
Yeah, but he's.
You don't care if there's a guy covering him or not. He throws.
My opinion of him is improving. I'm just cautious about it.
So I feel like you and Baker Mayfield are like Ben and Justin Jefferson. It's like
no
players actually better than what you guys give them credit for.
Baker is way better than Justin Jefferson by a mile. And I'll tell you why.
Oh my gosh.
Because Baker can make something out of nothing.
Okay.
Constantly. Jefferson is always wide ass open all the time because nobody covers him. I don't know why nobody covers him. He's always wide open. I don't get it.
Not because
free release. Let him play 10 yards off him and let him do whatever he wants. It's ridiculous.
Nobody covers.
It's ridiculous. I don't know how these teams never cover the guy. He's not even that good.
I think they're okay.
Or Baker, there could be 3 guys on Mike Evans, and he's like, screw it. And he just drills it in there anyways. That's craziness. That's Brett Favre stuff right there.
I like watching Baker play.
Baker's got some. He's cool.
Pretty good. He's got some arm strength.
And how many times this year did Baker get his team to the overtime and then just not get the ball and lose? It was like 3-4 times this year. Twice to the Falcons. Got him in overtime, and then Kirk O'Chains just won it. And Baker's just sitting on the sidelines like, God dang it! Can I win the damn coin toss once?
We're just hoping you don't get bakered in the end, Mo.
Well, I appreciate that. Same to you, I guess.
No, I don't want to
get bakered. That was the
I don't
want
to be Baker. I don't want to play Baker.
I don't want to play the Rams. I don't
play
want to
the
play
Rams.
Yeah, Matt Stafford had like 120 yards passing last game.
Stinks.
They can't do anything.
Karen Williams, he's a good running back and good wide receivers.
I like Puka Nacua. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's good.
But he ain't that fast.
No, he's not a threat. Although you got to tackle him. The Packers probably have problems with him.
That's true.
You have to tackle him.
We'll put Edrin Cooper on him.
Our linebackers can tackle. That's a good thing. Our linebackers can tackle. Secondary, not so much.
It is now almost 12:30. What the crap?
We did it.
We did what?
We made it the official late night show.
2 hours and 20 minutes of just blabbing about
from one night into the next morning. That's what we had to do. So
we're on so long. Balaz is here at like 6, 7 in the morning over by him. He's just like, "What's up, guys? I'm eating breakfast."
JJ says, do you think Sam Darnold's time at the 49ers helped him? I agree. Minnesota can only win if they can pass the ball consistently. Well, JJ, I don't know. I think if Aaron Jones runs all over the Packers, they could also win, but we'll see. We'll see. Remember, Aaron Jones has the weird opposite what you think cutting style, so he messes up tacklers because he cuts
on the turf. Leg. He is a monster on the turf.
He's had a lot of great games in Viking Stadium.
Yep.
U.S. Bank. Is it still U.S. Bank?
It is.
The bank fault. Ding dong. I said that earlier.
All right. I'm just making sure.
Look, Jason, you're so tired you don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
Yeah.
See, I took a nap today, so I'm good.
I'm not good.
I also played Spirit Island today. 6-player Spirit Island. Insanity Land. We did not finish the game. Nobody could handle it. Travis's eyes were bugging out of his head. He was just like, whoa.
But yeah, I picked up Evolution for $10.
Oh.
So should I play it? You got to teach me how to play it again. I'm trying
Which
to play
Evolution?
it with my family. The beginning one or beginner or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that one's kind of like for kids.
It's not. It's a good game.
It's not good.
Game. It is good.
Evolution the beginning?
Yeah. Isn't that the one we played?
Yes.
No, I play Evolution.
Well, right. He had expansion pack.
I have Evolution
10
Climate.
million. Yeah.
Well,
Evolution Climate with the bird expansion. Remember I played with the bird.
Tissue and it had fatty tissue.
Fatty tissue.
Fatty tissue, yeah.
I know about that. I got a lot of that.
Oh, man.
I got fatty tissue and I got fatty issues. Tissue issues. Remember?
Tissue issues. That was my shining moment of
when I asked Mo about Christian Watson if there's tissue issues, and that's why guys have
he's still got problems. Why does he get hurt all the time?
They're just too damn skinny. You're too damn skinny. You're gonna get hurt all the time. Put some fat on Christian Watson. You won't be as freaking hurt. You won't be pulling your hammies.
Viking Moe, we hope it's a good game.
Me too.
We hope the Vikings lose.
I understand.
It's sort of, but kind of part of me hopes they win because like Aaron Jones and stuff. And then you could threaten Detroit, which would be good.
Be fun.
I would feel better.
I would rather
going to Minnesota than going to Detroit in the playoffs.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I would rather the Packers have to play Detroit in Detroit than play the Vikings.
See, the weird thing, if the Vikings end up getting the number 1 seed,
that'd be bad.
Then Detroit will be the number 1 wild card. They'll likely win, which means that the Vikings will probably play the Detroit again in the next round.
No,
if the division winners win.
The Detroit beat Packers twice, which means even if the Packers win out,
that's what I'm saying.
And Detroit lost both games, we would still be the lower seed. And if the Vikings were the number 1 seed, we'd have to play them.
Well,
unless Washington won, which they're not going to win.
Packers are winning. Right.
So the Packers win as a 6 seed. They would have to play the Vikings as the 1 seed the next week.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see that shit, Mo. So you should really hope that the Packers win this week. Because wouldn't that be worse, Mo? If you won this game and then you beat the Lions and then you have a bye week and then the Packers come in the playoffs in the divisional round and freaking beat your ass as the number 1 seed. You don't even get a win in the playoffs. Wouldn't that feel terrible?
You know, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
I'm seeing the future here, Jack.
And I would, I'd like to take my chances with that scenario.
Anyway. Hey, Balaz's having bacon and eggs right now, and we're still up. What the hell is going on? Normally, I'd have to get up in 4 hours to go to work. But luckily, I don't.
Week by week, we take it one game at a time. So let's not look at all that stuff. Although it will be fun. If the Packers play the Vikings or the Lions during the playoffs, that would be awesome. So
it would be fun, super fun.
So if that happens, okay. All right, Viking Moe, thanks for joining us. Thanks for making your tech work out. However that.
Sorry about that. I've just been holding my phone this whole time, so sorry if it's been wiggly.
You need a stand.
I thought you were trying to be like one of those, those cool shows where it's all like.
Yeah, like that.
No, I was just trying. I just reposition and change hands because I get tired and my elbow hurts on the. So.
Don't worry, AI
is trying to tough it out for you.
AI will fix that for you soon. Yeah, it'll be okay. All right, Viking Moe, good luck to you.
Thanks.
Your Vikings, only because you have Aaron Jones and
thanks.
And Andrew Van Ginkel. I mean, you got some more likable guys, and your coach is not an asshole, so it's
that's a plus.
like the Vikings are kind of likable. They might be the second likable team, most likable team in the division now. I don't know.
Yeah, right after the Lions.
Oh
No, I hate the Lions now because of stupid St. Brown.
yeah.
Oh, he is a bit of a. He's a
And
bit
Dan
of a
Campbell's an
prick.
idiot.
And Dan
So now-
Campbell goes for every fourth down, no matter
Every
where
fourth down.
the field. It's
Yeah.
just dumb.
I
Every
think the
time.
Vikings are way more likable than the Packers. I mean, I hate to say it.
What?
I'm still a Pack. They are way more likable.
Well, yeah. LaFleur's
KOC, Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, freaking
Jair.
Van Ginkel.
Jair.
Yeah, we got chump ass bitches like Jair on the freaking team, and come on. and Matt LaFleur is more worried about his eyebrows than whether who's in the game playing running back at the time.
How many times does he get his hair cut every week?
Every
I
week?
swear he probably gets it cut twice a week.
It's very short all the time.
It's
Well groomed. He's well groomed.
so weird. I mean, I want to go back to the days of Mike McCarthy. That guy didn't care about what he looked like.
Still doesn't.
Hey, the guys in the chat are like, stop already. They're all telling us to go. Good night.
Okay.
Night, Mr. Hammond. Good night, boys.
Yeah, Dad's trying to get us
Thank you,
to hang
Mo.
out.
Thank you, Mo. Have a good one.
Oh, look at
You
that.
too.
Balaz likes you, Mo. Balaz likes you, even though he's
Oh,
a Packer.
thank you. It's nice.
All right. Be good. Stay good, everybody. Enjoy
All
the
right.
game. 325.
See you guys. I'm getting off.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Go
Love you.
back. Go. Screw you, Mike.
Tell me why, like a unicorn, you're still high.